All right, hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom. I am here with George. Hello, George.
Kinda not sick, George. How are you guys?
Do you know what today is, George?
Friday?
That's true. It is Friday.
Do I know? Oh, is it going to be today, the halving?
We are now, let's just take it from
How
the
many
top.
blocks away?
Hold on.
How many blocks to the halving?
Okay. According to crypto.com, we have 31 blocks left. They're anticipating 5 hours and 23 minutes from now. So, depending on what website you go to, and you get anomalies. I don't know if it'll still show up here. Like here, from 222 to 248. So that took a long time. That's 26 minutes. On the average, it should be 10 minutes. And this is why they can't tell us the exact moment that the halving is going to be, because on the average, it's 10 minutes per block over long periods of time. But you can see any one given block could throw a curveball. So then it looks like this one took less than 1 minute. A bunch in a row here. So somewhere 5 hours from now-ish, we will have the Bitcoin halving. We've been talking about it for months. We've been talking about it for years. So it is here.
I'm ready for the first poll. Do you think that makes Bitcoin price pump next week? So, what will price be of Bitcoin next week?
Pump or sell the news?
Yeah.
That is the question, and I have seen, guesses on either side repeatedly. We have our chart up. I'm going to get to a comment in a second, but first I would like to ask everybody, please do us a giant favor and smash the like button. We have 30 likes. Once again, we have demonetized ourselves to get rid of all of the ads in the middle of this. So you're going to be ad-free once you join us. So help us out and please smash the like button so we can get in the algorithm that way and get more people here on the stream on today, the day of the Bitcoin halving. Thank you very much. Everybody, let us know if you can hear me and George okay. Make sure everything's going fine, technically speaking. Bitcoin had a good day. Some of the Bitcoin miners had a great day. We'll take a look at that. I want to get to Midway, who's been a member for 5 months. Midway said, Bitcoin and the miners showed nice relative strength today versus the stock market. I think iron looks due for a huge bounce in the next couple of weeks. So there was some really good, there is some red on the board, but if you look on the side of the screen here, if you guys can see this, if I take it from the top, Marathon was up 9.78%, so almost 10%. Riot was up over 10%. Cleanspark just under 6%. So those are the three biggest by market cap by far. So, Riot and Marathon have lagged a little bit lately. We're going to take a look at some charts later. We've been talking technical analysis a little bit. I've tried to add that a little bit in. I don't like to fixate on it, but man, we went through on the members only live stream. We went through some price points and some lines of support, and the technicals kicked in this week in a big way. When you get to the charts, you're going to see everything held right at its line of support and turned around and moved to the upside. Bitfarms underperformed today. They've got something else going on. For those of you who don't know, we can talk Paraguay later, but there's a little bit of a cloud looming over their head. They were up 1.5 today. Cypher 4%, TeraWolf 7.5%, Iris Energy 5.7, BitDeer 5.8. There were a few small caps, and really we're talking micro caps and nano caps. DigiHost was in the red 0.27, Stronghold in the red 0.74. Any, which is Sphere 3D, down 0.9. DMG Blockchain down 5%. MicroStrategy was red. So MicroStrategy was off to the races. They were the best performer. Right after the halving, right after the ETFs and all that, Bitcoin went off to the races. MicroStrategy actually significantly outperformed Bitcoin for a while. Now, we're getting a pullback in there. So, for some people may view this as a buying opportunity, but this was a 2.8% red on what was otherwise a really green day. I mean, some standout performances over the last couple of days. The Bitcoin miners are starting to look much better than the last 15 weeks. Kay, who's been a member for 3 months, thanks for being a member, said, Tom, do you expect Monday to be a sell-off day, considering today closed in the green to support the Bitcoin halving? I will tell you, I'm going to answer that question, but I will also answer it by saying I really think this is an absolute roll of the dice in the super short term. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about what exactly the halving is and what it means. So, some people think that, today's the halving, Bitcoin's going to go to the moon starting tomorrow. And we're talking about how that's just not how it's ever worked, and that's likely not how it's going to work right now. But I will tell you, I do see some technical things telling me that the next move, I think, is going to be up in Bitcoin. So it is, of course, possible in a day or a week that, the market can do whatever it wants. And so I'm not sure, over the next 1, 2, 3 days what's going to happen. But I do think over the next several weeks or month, I think we're going to start moving. I don't think this is going to be a longer term sell the news situation. The Bitcoin halving is, the effects of that, I think we're going to be feeling for the next year. And I think it's going to be sooner than later, because unlike previous halvings where it really took a while to kick in, the ETFs jump-started this thing. We now have some new ETFs in Hong Kong coming online and a lot of other catalysts. So whereas we were waiting for the bull market to start in previous halvings, we're in it right now. So it's my opinion. We'll look at the one-day chart. I think we could have a nice move over the next month in Bitcoin.
The market can stay more irrational than you can stay liquid.
That's right. There's no doubt. I might have saved an article. There's this efficient market theory, and I will just tell you, for those of you, a lot of you may be familiar with that. If you're not, essentially, that's a long-standing theory that the market's efficient. It has priced in all of the things that are relevant, and you're not going to gain any, quote, alpha, meaning, you're not going to outpace the market because the market knows and it prices it in real time. I think, maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, that may have been more true. I don't think the market trades that way at all anymore. So the efficient market theory is out the window. We see that with the monumental volatility. I'm going to show you 3 stocks today. Tell me an efficient market theory when out of the blue, NVIDIA, here, we'll sidetrack. All right, this is the hottest stock of the year by a mile. From a gained market cap standpoint, NVIDIA, this is on one of the biggest tears in the history of time, down 10% today. So, what? And is it alone? No, it's not alone, because Netflix was down 9% today. Now, at least this was on earnings. You've got Tesla, another one of these are 3 of the giant stocks that move the market. Tesla down 1.92%, closed under $150. So, that's a new trend that's kicked in. And I will tell you, I'm a little worried about Tesla. They've got earnings next week. I think this could continue to slide. George, who I think stepped away for a minute, had talked about the potential maybe for this to run down to 100, where it's been in the last 12 to 18 months. And I think that could happen. Jeff, hello, Jeff. Jeff has been a member for 19 months, one of, if not the original member. Jeff said, woo, almost 2 years, 18 months ago, Bitcoin, $16K. 18 months ago, CleanSpark, $2. I mean, that's the thing. So, and particularly CleanSpark has outperformed everything, but a lot of these stocks have made massive run-ups. They've had a very tough 2024 so far. So we're 3.5 months into this year, and it's been a tough year. But most of these stocks were up 300, 400, 500. Some of them were up 600% last year. So, yes, we've had a slow start. I will talk more about it. Jeff, thank you for the super chat. Jeff said, Bitcoin to 175K, CleanSpark to
right, welcome to
$135, Talkin Investing to 100K subscribers, I assume. Well, I hope for all of those. CleanSpark, $135. I'm going to tell you, that's the one I hope for the most, because that's a grand slam home run if that happens. So that is beyond my personal price target, but listen, I think we'd all be happy if we get to that. Bitcoin to 175K actually is less than my price target for the peak of this bull run. So the next, call it the next 12 to 18 months. Not financial advice. That is my personal opinion. I think a lot of people are underestimating this halving and this cycle. And there's a few articles that I have up that we'll talk about, oh, it's all already priced in and the run's already happened. And I just don't think that's true at all. I think people are missing the big picture, or maybe they're just intentionally spreading FUD. So Barry C., also a member for 19 months, so also one of the original members. Bitcoin price is the quickest indicator that someone is sending missiles somewhere. So we saw that a couple of times. Geopolitical events are a big deal, and we did a poll, is as in terms of geopolitical events, is bad news for the world bad news for Bitcoin or good news for Bitcoin? And that poll was split about 50-50. But I think you see, when we had a situation, this feels like a long time ago, but I think this was last night, boom, Bitcoin just tanked. And then we got a response where it seemed like cooler heads were prevailing. And then immediately, Bitcoin was off to the races. So, I do think that's one of the things in the short term, geopolitical events and the world, as always, since the beginning of time, the world is a dangerous place, and we don't know when these types of things are going to happen. We can only hope for the best. Obviously, I think we all hope and pray that things don't get worse and that they get better, but that's outside of our control. But it does, potentially affect our investment portfolios. That's just the reality of it. Well, I got a second. Thank you. If everybody could please smash the like button. It does help out the live stream in real time. And I did turn off mid-roll ads. So I know, we've demonetized ourselves here for your viewing experience. So hopefully you guys can just help us out and stay in the algorithm by smashing the like button so that we can spread the stream around. Much appreciated. Jeff said, Tom, I was being conservative. My real prices are much, much higher. All right. Glad to hear it. CleanSpark to 100 said, CleanSpark to $135. I'll be retiring. You and me both, CleanSpark to 100. That's way beyond my price target. But I do think CleanSpark's my number one conviction. Again, I have to say, not financial advice. That is my opinion. It's by far the best performing stock over the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months out of all the Bitcoin miners. And I think operationally it's been performing spectacularly. I do expect it to continue to run. So where it runs, I guess we're going to have to wait and find out. So let's take a look at our poll here. Okay, so we got some price. So 67 to 69,000 next week. So that would be a move up. Let's go back to the Bitcoin. I'm on Tesla for no reason here. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. So you can see, look at the volatility last night. Somebody said as missiles start flying. Well, look what happened very quickly. This was in 2.5 hours. Bitcoin was down. This is a 6% move to the downside. And then, we kind of got some clarity on the situation. First of all, these things tend to move down and then kind of settle somewhere in the middle. That happened. And really, here's where we got some more clarity that, hey, it looks like maybe things aren't escalating. And then all of a sudden, up up 5%. And from the bottom to the top, this was actually all the way to the top today. This was just almost exactly a 10% move from the bottom to the top from, kind of the flash crash overnight last night to the peak of today. This gold line is where Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed yesterday, so somewhere around 63,500. So you can see from the time the U.S. markets, equity markets opened today, we were above that all day long. We candle wicked. These are 15-minute candles, so for like 2 or 3 minutes, we got below that and then went right back above it. So, the price action was really good today for Bitcoin, and that was a strong day, and we've moved back in the right direction. When we look at the 1 day, you're going to see we've really, really recovered at a critical moment. Which, if you were on the members live stream, we talked about what I was hoping to see and what I thought we needed to see for the next move to be up. Otherwise, I thought the next move would be down. We'll look at exactly that, because just exactly what we were saying that I hoped would happen is exactly what happened, fortunately. So,
welcome to Talkin'
as a result, we've had a good couple of days. Barry C. just gifted 5 Talkin' Investing memberships. Thank you very much, Barry. And welcome to Final Omega, Manny,
welcome to
Crypto
Talkin'
Golfer, Benny, and Peter were the recipients of that, just so that everybody knows that is random. So any member can gift memberships, but they can't pick who it goes to. It just goes to any. If you're on the stream right now, you could be the winner.
Well, it's random. It just isn't allowed to pick Chris Dominate.
For some reason. So, Pogo, the crypto clown, who is a member, thank you very much for being a member, asked, Tom, are you still buying Riot? So I didn't buy any Riot today, but I will tell you, I did buy Riot a couple of times this week, and I have to tell you, I can't help but feel a little bit vindicated, because I have been getting utterly destroyed.
Tom, they flipped the switch.
George, I've been getting wrecked by everybody.
They flipped the switch.
So we got to.
I don't know how many exahash. They didn't say that.
Well, they didn't, and that's a good thing I want to go through. But they did power up, so it has begun. And Riot was the winner today out of all the Bitcoin miners, up over 10%. So twice I got to buy the dip under $8, and that's what I continue to say. If they're going to give it to me at under $8, I mean, come on. So and obviously anything can happen. It could dip back under $8 again, depending on what Bitcoin does. But longer term, let's just take a look at Riot, because they're really the only ones that had a significant press release over the last few days. So let's go to that. Riot energizes new Corsicana facility in Navarro County, Texas. So I highlighted this sentence. With the Corsicana facility's 400 megawatt substation now operational. By the way, this is a 1 gigawatt facility in total. They've got the first 400 megawatts operational. They say, we remain well on track to increase our self-mining hash rate capacity to 31 exahash by the end of 2024. Remember, they've been stuck at 12.4 exahash for a considerable amount of time. 6 or 8 or 10 months, they've been hovering around this 12.4 exahash. They haven't added a single exahash in, I think, 6 months. And so they did say in here, let's see. Give me a second. Riot's Corsicana facility will have a total of 1 gigawatt when fully developed, at which point we expect to be the largest known Bitcoin mining facility in the world. The initial phase is expected to add 16 exahash to Riot's self-mining capacity by the end of 2024. And then they say the first batch of miners in the first 100 megawatt building A1, have been installed and are already hashing. My only frustration with them is, what's a batch? The first batch of miners. So,
yes, read between the lines, Tom.
Why not just say, we got 1 exahash up and running. We got 100 machines up and running. The first batch of miners is what they say. But they do go on to give a little bit of clarity. So they say the first batch of miners in the first 100 megawatts have been installed and are already hashing. So they have added some amount of exahash. We don't know what. And the miners will continue to be deployed in building A1 until a total capacity of 3.7 exahash is reached. So when they're done with building A1, which is 100 megawatts, they will have added 3.7 exahash. We know they're at 12.4 exahash. They expect to get to 31 exahash by the end of the year. But, you know, more is better and sooner is better. So we're going to have to, I guess, wait until these monthly operational updates come out. So fortunately, you know, in this space, we get very regular updates. So we will see in the first week of May just exactly how much they got online here in April. And, you know, by June 30th, I think by June 30th, I'll go to this. Second, it's a few pages down. By June 30th, so Q2 2024, they expect to be at 21.4 exahash. So they're at 12.4 right now. So that's what they're expecting to happen basically in the next 70 days. So that's a significant, that's 7, right? Sorry, that's 9 exahash that they expect to add in the next 70 days. Crypto Golfer said, a batch is bigger than a gaggle, but not as big as S-ton. I think that's about exactly right. I mean, a batch, I mean, come on, guys. Do us a favor. Do yourselves a favor. Like, this is the simple stuff, right?
No, they did themselves a favor by not telling you how many was in a batch, trust me.
Well, you're right, but unfortunately, I assume the same thing, right? When somebody says a batch instead of telling us how many, you think, that wasn't very many. But we'll see. It has begun. They are energized. They're getting this stuff online. And I did dollar cost average into Riot. It's one of the last ones that I continued to dollar cost average into. I've been, you know, recently, this week, I bought some of that. And I bought some BitX on the dip. So those are the two things I bought this week. So we should see how people are feeling about Riot right now, because, you know, everybody was very anti-Riot, both in the comments section and on the live streams. And you know, so I'm wondering, does this change people's mind? Change somebody's mind, because they did run up 10% today. It's possible, you know, maybe just some of the shorts got out of the way and that caused a little move to the upside.
Do people think Riot is a good buy right now? Yes or no? Real simple poll.
That's perfect.
Is it a good buy?
MicroStrategy to 20K is saying we're now 27 blocks away. So we're
now 26.
We're inching closer.
Tom, do you own any Marathon?
Yes, I do.
What percentage?
The Bitcoin miners that I own from my largest position to my smallest position are, and this is not the amount I invested, it's where my position is at right now, because I will tell you, Cleanspark right now is by far my largest position, but that is not because that's what I put the most money into. It's just outperformed all the others so significantly that it has become by far my largest position. So it's Cleanspark, and then very, very close, Bitfarms and Riot are very close in second and third, and then Marathon is, you know, a reasonably close fourth, and then in a distant fifth is Iris Energy. I got out of Iris, and, you know, I came back in, and, you know, I built a small to medium-sized position. So those are the only 5 Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in at this time. I have been invested in many others over the course of time. I've gotten in and out. I've changed my mind on some. Most of the ones that I just talked about, other than Iris Energy, you know, I've been buying most of the, particularly Cleanspark and Bitfarms, I dollar cost average, and really Riot. I still have some Riot from the previous halving. I mean, so I've been dollar cost averaging into these for a long time. I will say I did get out of Marathon you know, in a good way. I got a big run up in the last bull market on Marathon and got out. So, you know, I restarted rebuilding that position all over again. It did get a lot worse, you know, so I was able to dollar cost average down.
Spark Clean asked me a question. George, what's the most profitable investment you ever made?
Interesting.
Well, that's a loaded. There's so many. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question.
In the meantime,
I know. Well, it's definitely emergency water removal.
Your business.
Starting my own business. Starting my own business.
That's without a doubt if I could second that. I think for you, your own business, your real estate transactions, and then in a distant third is your investing in the market and cryptocurrencies. Now, that's growing as a part of your world. If I could speak on your behalf, I think that's an accurate statement.
Yeah, but I think business. I think once you can get away from working for a paycheck and working for a result, then I think that's when things will really change in your life. Right? I mean, that's the hardest thing. So what I did was I planned for it. I kept saving. Like, I actually ended up building my own house, and like, so that was actually a really good investment. Homestead, you know, I talk to Tom about this all the time. No one talks about this, but the biggest thing was homesteads. When we were younger, the way I learned to build houses and do houses is somebody said, "Hey, you need help run wires with me today." I'm like, "What? Run wires in electric? What are you talking about?" Just pull the freaking things. That's all you need to do. Hey, you need to help me do the plumbing. Come over here and help me. And that's how we did it. I helped a whole bunch of people build their homes. Come help me do this roof. Come help me put this siding up. And it sucked. But then before you know it, I learned how to do that. Did you see Midway? Thanks, Midway. Midway just gifted 10 memberships.
Oh, yes. Midway, thank you very much. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for gifting memberships. All right, welcome. And congratulations to 10 people. And let's see, Chris, once again, Chris Dominator did not win. Chris, it's not our fault. All right, welcome to totally random. I don't know. It's wild.
I have the answer to the question now. The answer to the question is go learn. It doesn't matter what it is.
All right, welcome
learn
to
it.
Talking Investing.
Like, when I was broke, if I didn't know how to change my own brakes, I would have had to pay somebody to change my brakes, and I would have been broke. And that's what saved me. It's like, I was a miser. Anything I could possibly do for myself, I did. Like, and brakes are the easiest things out there to do. Sorry if people don't believe that, but they really are. They're simple, easy to do. So,
all right,
I just made, because I wanted to go work for myself, I did everything I could to save money any which way. And then, like, I didn't have car payments for years because there's no way I could afford it.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
Business. See, that's what's so funny is, like, when you start your own business, you have to save every single penny you possibly can before you can make big money.
All right, welcome. And I will tell you, George is the ultimate handyman. He has picked up every skill he possibly if that's your obsession, you've picked up every skill you possibly can along the way, and it's just remarkable how many different things you're proficient at. And it's been a big part of having a
trading, by the way.
You hate what?
Because that's why I hate trading stock.
Oh,
I'm smart enough to know that you can't win. The only time you can win is your way, and that's overtime.
Right. You can't. I do believe you can win, but it does take patience. And if you read my comments section, you'll see there's a lot of people that disagree. I cut and paste a lot of comments, and I was going to go through them and show them. And I don't think I'm going to do that. But the reason I was going to do that, I really got a big signal. I put out a video Monday morning, and like the hate was overwhelming. It was just a Bitcoin miner video talking about what the Bitcoin miners are doing. And, you know, every time the hate gets to that level of a fever pitch, it's
turning.
It's almost like, just read people's comments sections. It's like the ultimate indicator. Like, you could just feel the sentiment bottoming out and a turn coming. And sure enough, like from then till now, we had a bunch of green days. And, it was a combination of, hate against the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin miners are garbage. Bitcoin miners are dead. There was just dozens of those, and then dozens of, just personal attacks against me. And so it just, it almost, you could just feel it. I knew it. I don't want to go through, I don't want to do negative stuff.
Look at what happened to the EVs. You know that?
In this week or in general, or, the Tesla is an indicator. I've been reading a lot of articles about EVs, and adoption is just dying on the vine here in the U.S. Most of the major U.S. automakers have scaled back significantly their EV. I do think, I do also think, in addition to that, I think whoever they are, I think they're coming after Tesla. There's a sentiment around Elon Musk right now that's very negative. But by the same token, the company, they've got earnings next week. They've got some things not going well. This low end of the market vehicle that they were going to put out, it looks like they're backing off of that. It was already supposed to be a big part of their picture. And, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're delaying it or if they're never going to do it. And, just demand is just not there for vehicles in general, for EVs in specific. A lot of people have gone to, there's some outstanding hybrids out there that, here, for a lot of places in the U.S., just based on the infrastructure that exists, having an having a hybrid that maybe gets you 35 or 40 miles to the gallon, city and highway, is just a very superior option, just functionally speaking. So that's what seems to be going on in the U.S. I know it's different in every country in the world, and
we bought a Maverick. We bought a Ford Maverick, and that thing averages 43 miles to the gallon. That's huge.
That's incredible, right? Yeah. That's.
It can haul stuff. It can do everything you need it to do.
So those kinds of cars, I think, are stealing from the EV demand. So, and we'll see. I would also say, I think at some point Tesla will do its thing. It has wild swings. So while you were gone for a second, George, I talked about the fact that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, when I was looking at maybe $150 price target, you had pointed out, it's gotten down near 100 sometime in the last year. And that could happen again. But, that's
well, my thing is, that it's going to move one way or the other come earnings.
Right, and it just feels like it feels like sentiment is awful surrounding Tesla
That's
right now.
That's a good poll, Barry. I'm gonna do that poll.
So let's see.
I'm gonna close this one out.
Is Riot a good buy right now? So let's see. You close
Somebody
that out,
knows
but
about my
to
mistress too. Hard Knocks knows about my mistress. Don't wear her out, please.
Usually when you close a poll, it just pops up, but I don't see it. But I think it was. It's
64% yes.
64% yes on Riot.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Interesting.
That's so crazy. Isn't that crazy?
What a surprise that is. That is weird. That is not appearing on my chat for some reason. I don't know why. If you could do us a giant favor and smash the like button. We got 111 likes. It does help the stream out in real time. It is much appreciated. We got to get people here on this stream. Today is the Bitcoin halving. Also, we did demonetize ourselves to enhance the viewer experience. So if you're watching this live in real time, we stopped all these mid-roll ad interruptions. So hopefully that is helping everybody with a better experience. Cleanspark to 100, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a member. Cleanspark to 100 said, very exciting and thankful to be a part of a great community during my first halving. Thank you, Tom and George. You are welcome, and thank you. Thanks for being a part of our group. We have a great group of people. We have a lot of very thoughtful investors. We have a lot of very good conversations. Our members-only live streams are awesome. So to the 15 new members that we've added today, please join us every Tuesday after the market close. We do a members-only live stream, and we dig into things a little deeper and differently.
Tom will be asleep, Sour.
I will not. What, at the halving?
Yeah. It would probably be 9 o'clock, right?
Somewhere between, 9, 10, 11 o'clock tonight, depending on how this goes. I won't be asleep. But the thing is, I can do a stream. It's a weird thing because while the halving is without a doubt the biggest event in, Bitcoin every 4 years, although I would argue the Bitcoin spot ETFs were the single biggest catalyst for Bitcoin in the history of Bitcoin. But these halvings are monumental events. But the actual moment itself is really a non-event. Nothing happened. You wouldn't even know anything happened. Like, there's no difference. It's just we mined that block and now we're mining the next block. And if history is any indication, you don't get this immediate, move. And there's a great debate. Is this going to be a move to the upside, or is this going to be a sell the news situation? So that brings me to, let's go to the 1-day chart. So we talked about there's a line at 61,900. I have a red line here. That dates back over a month to March 2nd. That line was holding very strong. And you can see on March 19th, it tested that. This is these are 1-day candles. We tested that. It held perfectly. And then we had a giant green candle the next day. So a few days ago, 2 days ago, we broke below this. And we were talking about this during this candle. It looked like we were going to break below this, and we did get a daily candle to close below this. And the thing is, we always talk about on this channel, one of my biggest things is not to jump the gun. Because if you have a line of support like this, or whatever the technical analysis is, if you see a breakout, one candle to me is not confirmation. So I specifically said, if this happens, if we close below this line, what I would be looking for is a second daily candle to open and close below this line of support. And that would be confirmation. And if that happens, I thought we would move down into this range. This would be a full 20 to 25% pullback from this purple line, which was our new all-time high set on March 13th. So a little over a month ago. But I did warn, oftentimes these giant red candles are followed by a giant green candle. And that's exactly what happened. So now this is totally nullified. So there was no breakout to the downside. That was nullified. Now we have another daily candle. It's not over. It's been green for much of the day today. This candle wick was overnight last night, with global events going on. We had a little bit of a flash crash. But since then, we've been, pretty much at the green all of the trading day today while the equity markets were open. So I think this was very, very positive. So what I'm looking for next, it's not so much to do with the halving as it is the technicals. We have this descending line of resistance on the daily RSI. We've bumped into this. We're getting close to bumping into it. We're moving back up again. So I think it has a lot to do with this. Can we break out of this trend line? And if you look
at the Fibonacci's and the Ichi clouds,
we'll have to bring those up. The MACD has been just very all over the place, and we've had a couple of fake outs where it looked like we were about to get a bullish crossover. It didn't happen. So, I'm not getting this has been super neutral for a very long time. I do think if we can continue this move upward, we're going to get a test here. So I do think in the short term, we're going to keep moving up a little bit. And then we're going to get a test to see, can we have this breakout of this range that we're in and start to retest our previous all-time high, which was set a little over a month ago at just under $74,000. So, whether that happens or whether we get rejected and keep going sideways, we are very clearly just about 2 months into going sideways. this is a pretty regular phenomenon. Typically, it corresponds with somewhere between a 20 and a 25% pullback over the last 17 months. I will tell you, in the previous bull cycle, those were more like 30 to 35% pullback. So already we have seen a change in the volatility, particularly in Bitcoin. So 20 to 25% pullbacks, in a matter of anywhere from 1 week to 2 months. In the equity markets, that would be a full-blown bear market. In the crypto markets, that's just a quickie normal correction, and we usually recover quickly from them. So we're still inside of all of that range. So I think there's good things ahead, and all of that is super, super short-term stuff. So again, none of this is financial advice. Those are only a couple of indicators. There's a million different indicators to look at, as George alluded to. But the bigger picture is, today is the halving. So we've only just begun here. In the past, this is the start. Sometime in the next, 3 to 9 months is when Bitcoin starts to take off and, move to, bigger, better, multiples higher places. For perspective, on the day of the last Bitcoin halving, if I go out to the 1 week, Bitcoin was somewhere around $8,000, $8,000 or $9,000 the day of the last halving. So now it had reached just under $20,000 was its peak prior to that. So, it was still in a big pullback, which was more typical in previous cycles. So the one thing worth mentioning, a lot of people say this time is different. And I mean, we now verifiably know this time is different. That doesn't mean it's going to be 100% different and everything is going to be different, but this is the first ever time in Bitcoin's very short history, I might add. I mean, this is still a very nascent space that we're in here. So this is the first time ever Bitcoin's reached its previous all-time high prior to the halving. And you can see, we broke above that. We technically here on March 5th, we candle wicked above that. So that's the first time that's ever happened. That was more than a month prior, a month and a half before the halving. We got to our previous all-time high. Never happened before. We've been hovering around it, above and below it, for the month and a half since then. So to me, this is super, super bullish activity. Yes, this is a period of consolidation, but if I zoom out, like if we look at here, we just had, right, this is from December of 2023 to, so this is 2 months. These 2 months were very sideways activity. Well, what happened next? From the bottom of this, even if you just go to here, that was a 62% move to the upside. Following the last time, we had a couple of months of sideways consolidation. And, that's been the case. I'm going to go to the 1 week for a second to get to the... If we look at the full cycle, I mean, this was the bottom. This red candle right here, this was FTX. So if we all remember that, that seems like it's now a distant memory in the rearview mirror. That was the crash. It looked like the bottom was already in. So I think the natural bottom was in around 17,500. And then we had a monumental event. It put us down to a new bottom at around 15,500. We double bottomed. And then from there, I mean, if we look at the run we've had from that bottom, oh, that's nice. Right, we're up almost 380% to the top. And then if we go to where we are today, over 300%. So, Bitcoin is basically, that's a quadruple, right? From 15,000 to 60,000. Bitcoin's quadrupled from the bottom and the halvings today. So, traditionally, most of the big move to the upside would still be ahead of us. Now, maybe we can do a poll next. Do we think that this has all been accelerated and we're near the top?
I don't.
We got 78% in favor.
I know the answer of that one. There's no way. At least not on this chat.
Well, I'll
80-20, Tom, for Elon Musk.
80-20 rule.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah. So this is why I ask this. I'll give you a couple of articles that have come out. This Bitcoin halving is different, so we were just talking about that. I mean, it is different. But is it
I don't think it's priced in, personally.
in? So this is a whole article.
There we go.
There we go.
That's going to be the poll. Is the halving priced in?
Yes. Is the halving priced in? Question mark. Because we've got this article, and then we've got, let me find, there's another one. Bitcoin halving is not a bullish event, says 10x research analyst. Marcus Thielen, I think that's pronounced, co-founder of 10x Research, said the previous post-halving bull run cycles weren't a result of the halving, but of macro environment. So essentially this article, in my opinion, not in my opinion, to paraphrase, he's saying it's really a coincidence. There is no Bitcoin cycle. It's a coincidence. It just happened to line up with macro events, and that's the reason that Bitcoin has had these blow-off tops after the halving. Is the halving that it's just lined up that way, and one thing's got nothing to do with the other. So, to me, you know, there's an old saying, I don't believe in coincidences, and that does not mean that the exact same thing is going to happen this time around. We've already seen some differences. We saw some differences last time around, but there's clearly a correlation. I mean, this is and the correlation is really simple. The amount of Bitcoin produced each day is cut in half, right? There's yesterday, approximately 900 new freshly minted Bitcoin came into existence. That's been every day for the last 4 years. That's going to get cut in half starting tonight. So tomorrow, there will be 450 Bitcoin that come into existence. So, you know, as we have demand with the spot ETFs, remember, we're about 2 weeks away from a bunch of new spot ETFs in Hong Kong coming online. So that's going to create additional demand. So whatever happens in the short term, and I will show you, the spot ETFs in the US had a tough 5 days the last 5 days. But in general, specifically, they're the fastest growing ETFs of all time by far. So do we really think that that's a done deal and the momentum of that is over? Because if you look at the companies that have these ETFs, look at BlackRock, Fidelity, those are 2 of the 5 largest money managers in the world. So, you know, most of their customers still have 0 invested in Bitcoin. So
don't you find it funny that Hong Kong didn't do their ETF right away?
Yeah, because when we did it, it was almost kind of the next day.
Yeah, right.
So, well, maybe
That's
they
the
got
reason
some
why
people.
I think it could be getting us. I think they could be setting us up for a crazy April.
This is why I say, like, trying to guess what's going to happen this week.
I think it's
very difficult.
Parabolic, and this is what I heard: Cinco de Mayo.
Is that what you heard, or is that what you just thought of right now and said?
Cinco de Mayo, mark it here. Pink moon. A full moon's coming up any day now. It's called the pink moon. Forgot what day it was.
The pink moon. I am not familiar with that phenomenon.
No, but that's the full moon's coming up, and the new moon is going to be called the pink moon. You didn't know this?
I did not know that. So
27th.
Is the halving priced in? That is our current poll. It's free to vote.
Wow, it's almost 50-50.
So if it's priced in, to clarify, that means we don't think there's going to be a big sell the news situation. And conversely, we don't think that there's going to be a massive pump. We think it's priced in, So Bitcoin is priced appropriately right now. And I don't know what to say. Again, I can't guess.
What are the shorts on these guys? Have you seen a short report recently on Bitcoin miners?
On the shorts are still very high, comparatively speaking, on the Bitcoin miners. When I do this weekly update over the weekend, it will be the first one in a long, long, long time where the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners are going to be in the green and have outperformed Bitcoin. So that hasn't happened in a while. 1 week does not a trend make, right? We're 15 weeks into the Bitcoin miners performing very poorly. So, to me, this is a very nice ray of hope. I think it is a sign of things to come, but it doesn't mean that we have, we've instantly flipped and, it's all straight up from here. As you guys know, the volatility is real, and there's all too many people that invest in these stocks and in cryptocurrency in general that it's one thing to talk about volatility. It's another thing to experience it firsthand with your money invested. And I think for as much as people, think they're ready for it, it's very, as you guys know, particularly our members here who have been doing this for a long time, this volatility is like, it's uniquely volatile, and it's very difficult, and it can persist. When you see Bitcoin go up 50% and, the Bitcoin miners go down 30 or 40 or 50% at the same time, there's a feeling of desperation that can set in for a lot of investors, and there's a lot of people that give up. So
my investment strategy is like, have you heard of this guy called Jelly Roll?
No.
It's called Somebody Save Me. Save me from my trading self. That's what it is. Everybody in the chat was talking about Rex and his Bitfarms video. I don't know who this Rex person is they speak of, but do you have any new comments on Bitfarms?
I mean, I can go through what's going on with Bitfarms. And it is one of my bigger positions. Bitfarms has a cloud hanging over their head, and you can see in its price action today, it was up 1.59% while its peers, and I would, in my mind, Iris Energy and Cypher are its peers, maybe TeraWolf. Though Cypher was up 4%, TeraWolf was up 7.5%, Iris was up 5.7%, and Bitfarms lagged a little. But what's going on is there's a proposal for a 180-day Bitcoin mining moratorium in Paraguay. I talked about this a couple of times, I think in the members specifically, and maybe last Friday. But I will show you why for Bitfarms, that's a gigantic cloud hanging over their head, and there's a specific reason for that. If you look at, by the way, this is their most recent presentation. So for those people who feel like Bitfarms has not performed over the course of time, it was the #1 performing stock on the Toronto Stock Exchange in 2023. It was the #8 performing stock on the NASDAQ in the year 2023. So Bitfarms was up like 500% last year. So I know it has stalled, it has pulled back, as have most of the Bitcoin miners. But that's not my point. In particular, you'll see, here's Bitfarms' growth plans. They were at, when they made this, was that about a month ago, they were at 6.5 exahash. They have now put out a press release to say they're at 7.0 exahash. So they're planning on getting to 12 exahash. How are they planning on getting there? You'll see Paraguay is this gold, I'm going to call it gold, orange, whatever you want. So right now, out of their 6.5 exahash, Paraguay represents almost nothing to them. But out of their growth between now and June 30th, it's all in Paraguay. So if Paraguay was to put a 180-day, essentially 6-month moratorium on mining Bitcoin, that means all these machines that they're expecting to energize, that would get put on hold. And here's the thing. It's not just the 180 days. Does 180 days turn into a year? Does it turn into forever? It's a cloud of uncertainty. What does the market despise? Uncertainty. So Bitfarms is suffering from some of that. I will give you my personal opinion, and I will double say this is not financial advice. I don't live in Paraguay. I am not familiar with the ins and outs of the politics in Paraguay. But, you know, in general, to me, this seems like something that does not make sense for them to pass. There's a couple of articles that we went through. Essentially, this has to go through 3 separate bodies to get passed, and then it could get vetoed by the president even after all of that happens. And something similar to that did happen, and it did get vetoed. That doesn't mean that's going to happen again. My biggest thing is Paraguay, if you look at the data, they have the 3rd largest energy producing dam in the world. Almost all of the energy that comes out of that dam, they export to their neighbors, Brazil, because they have no need for it. There's only 6.5 million people that live in Paraguay. They are one of the few countries that has a monumental, massive excess of energy. So they have 2 choices. They can sell it to their neighbors for almost nothing, which is better than getting actually nothing. But now they've been presented this other option. The Bitcoin miners are willing to pay a premium on that because it's still cheaper than most of the rest of the world. It's all hydroelectricity. And so that's what's going on right now. So they have a problem. There are Bitcoin miners that are stealing energy. So this is what they're trying to crack down on. But in doing so, they are proposing a bill to ban all Bitcoin mining. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't think it's going to pass. And maybe we should do a poll. You know, do people think that Paraguay is going to pass this 180-day ban, if for lack of a better word, on Bitcoin mining? I understand it's a cloud hanging over Bitfarms' head. It doesn't make sense that they would do this to me, but you know what? Not everything necessarily makes sense in this world. So I could be dead wrong on this. I just don't think this is going to happen, but time will tell. Crypto Golfer Tom, you must be making it big on YouTube because you're getting cope shills on the comments. I have had more shills in my comments section on things I've never, ever, ever heard of over the last few weeks. I don't know what's going on. Midway, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the super chat. Midway said, Bitfarms has about 150 megawatts of extra capacity in Argentina too. Do you know why they have been waiting more time to build out in Argentina versus Paraguay? So 2 reasons that's been going on. There was political instability in Argentina. At the same time, there was also the Argentina facilities are natural gas. So at one point, and you're right, there's 150 extra megawatts. At one point, there was going to be 210 megawatts in Argentina. That was Bitfarms' plan a year or a year and a half ago. Time flies. I'm not sure exactly when that was. The price of natural gas escalated and escalated. And so they really dialed back on that. I think it was also for, they were having a hard time getting the machines through customs, and logistically, this wasn't going as planned. They found a better alternative in Paraguay. So this is in all likelihood their plan B, which is why, all right, you know, I don't think they want to have to do this, but they do have a plan B. I think they can and will get these machines. They bought the machines. They have this 21 exahash. These machines are all purchase ordered, and they've raised the money to buy the machines. So I see it happening, but if they can't do it in Paraguay, I see it taking a lot longer than expected. They expect to be at 21 exahash at December 31st, 2024. So, you know, this is an impressive growth plan. It's one of the things that I'm very bullish on Bitfarms about. And the second piece of the puzzle is, by doing this, they're also replacing a good portion of their existing machines. So their joules per terahash are going to go down dramatically. So 2 things are going to happen. They're going to very close to quadruple in the amount of exahash they have, and their efficiency from a joules per terahash standpoint, so their cost per coin at the same time, is going to go down dramatically. So these are the companies that I'm looking for long term. This is the type of plan. Swap out your old machines, massively increase your exahash rate in total, and you know, this is what they also like about Paraguay. It's all green energy. It's very inexpensive versus other places in the world. It's very reliable. Paraguay has a massive excess of the energy, so it's not like there's even ever going to be a curtailment situation. So I think that plan A is 1,000 times better than plan B, but I do think, you know, they will find a way to do their thing, but it would be a giant curveball for them, and I think the stock would react very poorly if that happens. So do you think that Paraguay will do a ban on Bitcoin miners? 86% think no. I mean, that's just, my gut says the same thing, but again, we all don't know, you know, until we'll find out one way or the other. I'm not, you know, I remain bullish on Bitfarms, but I acknowledge there's this cloud hanging over its head for this exact reason right here. Now, here's the other part of the puzzle. If this cloud goes away, if this gets voted down, that is a catalyst for the stock. So, you know, that sits out there, because if we go to the Bitfarms chart, let me go to the Bitfarms chart.
That's a good question. We got to talk about the war.
All right, let me just wrap this up and then we'll discuss. So you'll see from where Bitfarms closed today to where they were back in February. So this was not 2 months ago, a little more than a month and a half ago. They would have to double to get back to where they were, you know, 7 weeks ago. So some of this is this Paraguay situation. Some of this is the period of time that a lot of the Bitcoin miners did have a pullback. So I think there's a big potential one way or the other. This is either going to be a nice catalyst for Bitfarms to jump, or, you know, in the unlikely event that it's bad news, that will be rough on this stock. I mean, there's a line at $1.50. I mean, there's a line down here at $1. I don't know how badly the market would react to that in the short term.
Is that a buying opportunity for you?
At $1, I would buy. If this ban comes through, I'm unlikely to start backing up the truck if this pulls back. But if this pulls all the way back to where it was in the crypto winter, then yeah, then I would start to add to my position again in all likelihood. Because like I said, I do think it would be a big setback, but one way or the other, they will move forward, in my opinion.
20 blocks to go.
So while we have a momentary pause, 146 likes. If you are here and you have not smashed the like button, if you could do us a giant favor and smash the like button, it does help the stream out in real time. Once again, we bring you a ad-free stream. So hopefully you guys are enjoying that. I know everybody was very frustrated at the amount of ads. Hopefully we can find some balance in the future. In the meantime, we're trying to go ad-free. We're demonetizing ourselves. So please help us by smashing the like button.
No, help us help you.
Help me help you. What movie's that from? Come on, that's an easy one. Somebody in the comments will get that.
I don't know.
Help me help you. I'll give 1 minute. Somebody will get that within 1 minute. Here's a good comment for you, George. Tom knows nothing. That's one of our comments in our chat.
I agree. Tom knows nothing. George knows nothing. That's why you should do your own research.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
This is for entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. And as person in the chat who calls themselves C points out, I know nothing. That is correct. Jerry Maguire, Nigel,
Benny,
and
Kevin,
Pogo.
Andrew, everybody got it.
Oh, I see.
Barry,
It's a classic. Chuck said Top Gun.
I noticed
Same right person.
The Copa people didn't get it.
The what?
I don't know. The Cope coin, the COPE.
Oh, that's because they're not
get it.
here to answer questions. They're here to.
See, now, if they answered a question, then, maybe.
I have a question. If you think that I know nothing, which I may very well, why bother watching our stream? Maybe they think you know something, George. Maybe that's what the answer to that.
Now they know nothing.
Maybe they're maybe they're here for your insight. I'm gonna say that's the answer.
That's a good one.
Drop some wisdom on us, George.
I'll give you wisdom. I can't even. The things I say get me in trouble. So talk to me about war, Tom. What do you think that's going to do to the Bitcoin price and the stock market?
I think we've gotten a glimpse. I'm going to go back to, no, not the 1 day. I'm going to go back to the 15-minute chart. Every time we get any hint that things are escalating globally here, this happens. Right. This is the 15-minute chart. So, right, that's a 6% move in, let's go to the 2-hour chart. Right, look at, from here, this is 4 hours. And it wasn't a full 4 hours. So you can see every time something bad happens, we get this knee-jerk move to the downside. Now, this was followed by some gigantic mitigating news that, there wasn't going to be a tit-for-tat retaliation after retaliation.
All right, welcome to Talkin.
And that really seemed to ease tensions dramatically. So we did get a big bounce off of this, but I think that knee-jerk reaction is an indication to, in my opinion, I stand by. I think bad news is bad news. So bad news is bad news for Bitcoin. It's bad news for the world. It's bad news for investments. The one exception to that might be, gold. Well, and oil. So, if you want to hedge against escalating tensions around the world, I guess my opinion, not financial advice, those two things jump out at me as the two things that might survive and or thrive in that type of an environment. But even Bitcoin, and again, I'll just hold through. I don't. It's hard to plan around these types of events. We don't know if they'll happen, when they'll happen, if they'll happen, how long they'll last if they happen. So, if you're a buy and hold investor, the only thing, from my perspective, I won't say the only thing you can do. There's lots of things you can do. From my perspective, I would wait it out and, hope for cooler heads to ultimately prevail versus a scenario where we head into some global catastrophe. I'm not going to plan my investments that way, but I understand that, the world is worried.
Yeah, but you have more money than God.
Listen, if all your investments go down, then, nobody wants that. But I'm not planning on selling any of these in the next anytime soon. Not never. As I've said many, many times, I have an exit strategy, right? I'm not just going to ride this out. I do think, although I don't think there will be a crypto winner, I do think the bull run will have its run and we'll have a bear market. And it will be for some period of time, and then we'll have the next leg up. But so I will exit out of some of this. Particularly, I've talked about my BitX, which is a leveraged play on Bitcoin. As we approach what I think will be the peak of this cycle, I'll probably get the majority of the way out of that. But I don't think we're anywhere near that right now. I think we're going to have to keep our eye on how this cycle goes. But I think we're going to have to watch the price action. I think we're going to have to watch what happens in the world. But, I expect that to be between 9 and 18 months from now. That's a long window. That's a 9-month window. It's probably going to be sooner on the sooner side of that than later, in my opinion. But, you know, I don't think it's any time, you know, prior to that. And I'm not just going to sell all out in one day. So, you know, if Bitcoin gets to 120,000, I'll take some profits. If Bitcoin gets to 150,000, I'll take a lot more profits and, you know, start to ride out. If it goes higher than that, you know, we'll see what happens. And my price target is higher than that. So, you know, but for me, that's a part of how I do an exit strategy. My exit strategy is not, I think Bitcoin's going to go to 260,000, so I'll sell everything when it hits 260,000. Because if I'm wrong, then I'm going to be holding the bag on everything. So I will start to dollar cost average out, but for me, I don't anticipate that being anytime soon. That's just my personal investment strategy, and that's why none of this is financial advice. We all have our own absolute, total, unique situation financially. We're all different parts of our, you know, work life, our
retirement time.
Exactly. So everybody, please have your own plan. That is what we talk about. It doesn't matter what my plan is or George's plan is. Everybody should have their own plan. If you're putting money in an investment, you should have a plan on how or when or if you're taking it out. And for some people, you know, they have the flip side. They have stop losses where they have a tolerance for this. You know, this is very volatile, and their tolerance for volatility may dictate that, you know what, if there's an X% pullback, I'm going to get out and wait it out. And if I miss it, I miss it.
Did I tell you that the good news about Bitfarms and Paraguay?
Fire away.
They only had a batch of computers down there.
Oh, just a batch?
They just had a batch.
Well, you're right. At the moment, they did just have a batch, but they're planning on adding a lot of batches. Calvin Crypto, thank you for being a member for 9 months. Calvin said, Tom, have you considered using X Spaces, a live audio function where you can speak with a large crowd, including other analysts and minor CEOs? So I've seen other people do that, and I guess I just got to go through the learning curve. I'm technology deficient, but I'm writing that down, and I do know some it's getting more popular. A lot of these other platforms, it's almost like a waste of time trying to drag people there, but you know, the X Spaces does seem to be something that seems to be taking off. So thank you for that recommendation. I think we probably should try that. All right. So what else?
I'm thinking that we should come on at 8:30, and then we should do a subscription drive. We haven't done one of those. I think we did one time, right?
We did one time. Let's go. Let me take a look at the I'll refresh. I think this is refreshing in real time, but I'll refresh it anyway. 3.5 hours according to this. 22 blocks left.
See? Because we never go on at that time. Maybe you know what I mean?
Yeah, 8:30. By 8:30 or 9 o'clock Friday night, I'm not sure how many people are going to be. Well, and that's our time. We're Eastern time, so
no one,
you know, people
where
are all
do people
around
go
the world.
now, Tom? Where's this magical place that people go to?
I don't know. Don't people do? I mean, I know I don't do
No.
anything Friday night, but I
Nobody
assume
does
everybody else
anything
has
anymore.
a life.
No. Nobody does.
Oh, that's it.
I'm serious.
Well, you might be right.
What's up?
Okay, so the other big thing worth talking about is this came out a couple of days ago, and you know, Cypher in specific is going to announce their first quarter results on May 7th. So we're getting to that time again. So somewhere by, you know, May 15th, we'll get the majority of these first quarter results. So this is another thing to consider with these stocks. And we're in a really wild, tricky point in time for the Bitcoin mining stocks. And what I mean by that is you've got backward-looking data and forward-looking data, and sometimes those are going to be polar opposites. So what I would say to everybody is be incredibly careful and try to understand if you're actually making an investment in something. You know, if you have these on your watch list, if you're already invested, sometimes looking at this backwards data can be very misleading, because with the halving coming up, and depending on a company's growth plans, they could have a very different Q2 than Q1. I'm expecting really good numbers for a lot of the Bitcoin miners in Q1 of 2024, despite the fact that the stocks behaved very poorly, right? We'll look at that chart in a minute. I've got that summarized. The stocks did not do well at all in Q1. But the companies did. It's going to be one of the best quarters ever, right? Revenue is up drastically. Bitcoin went way up in price in Q1 of 2024. So a lot of these companies, I think the majority of these companies will break their all-time revenue record in Q1 of 2024. So you're going to see a lot of great numbers. So for me, what I will be trying to differentiate is, and that shouldn't be ignored, but I think you have to add to that, okay, what's their plans after the halving? Because if they're not modernizing their fleet and dramatically growing their hash rate, then Q2 may look very different than Q1. So I think the Q2 numbers, and we're a long time, right? We're 105-ish, 105, call it 4 months away from getting those numbers. That's going to be a very different story. So it's going to be interesting to see how the market reacts to what I think are going to be a lot of record results in Q1. Right, Cypher, for example, I think is almost certainly going to have their all-time record amount of revenue. They'll have probably their best results, and then there's a lot of companies that are going to be in this situation. So we got, you know, because this is all happening in the middle of the halving, we really have a lot to look at to try to figure out what all of this means. So for a company that destroys it and has a phenomenal Q1, but they have no growth plans for the rest of the year, to me, the more compelling factor will be, they're going to be falling way behind their competition and behind the network itself. So they're going to get, you know, automatically the reward gets cut in half. And then if they're falling behind their competition in growth, then, you know, the network, although there may be a pullback in the short term, the network, in my opinion, will continue to grow over the course of the year. That's how it has happened in the past. Calvin, thanks for being a member. Thank you for the super chat. Tom, if you don't do a live stream on YouTube, why don't you join us tonight on your own Discord for both paid and non-paid Discord members? And do a members only?
In the chat, in the thing?
Or everybody?
He can barely get the YouTube thing to work.
George, you could take charge of that.
I like you taking charge of it.
I mean, maybe we should do a live stream. If
Only
I do a live stream,
17 puzzles remain. What do you think the exahash is going to go right down really quick?
I don't know if it'll happen instantaneously, but I do expect in the next week we will see a fall off in the global hash rate. But I also expect that sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be right back to where we were. And you can see, even if it takes a little bit longer than that, look at the publicly traded Bitcoin miners. There's monumental amount of growth coming in exahash, so we'll see. I'm hopeful. Listen, the more machines that come offline, the better it is for these publicly traded Bitcoin miners, because we've taken a look at, and I'll go through that next. There's 6 in particular that have gigantic growth plans ahead. So if the overall global network is going to shrink, then those 6 companies, you know, that's going to be a boom for them. Let me just go to a few of those. We've talked about some of these. So Riot is one, right? Riot's at 12 exahash. By the end of the year, they're expecting to be at 31 exahash. So if there's a big pullback in the global hash rate, that's a 2.5x in the amount of exahash that Riot has if they stick to this plan. Right, Bitfarms is planning on going from 6.5 to 21. Now, we already talked about, if Paraguay goes south, that's going to get derailed a bit.
You guys really make me laugh. I'm not saying anything, though.
Let me find, so Cypher. So you can see, Cypher is one where it's going to take a little longer. So this is where I'm saying they may have out of this world Q1 results, but if you look by the end of Q3, they're looking at 9.3 exahash. So this is not the same growth trajectory. Now, if you go to H1 2025, but that's all the way out to June 30th, 2025. They've got a line here at 16 exahash and a line at 25 exahash. So, ultimately, they're planning on getting over that 20 exahash. So this is one of the 8 that I think have a real clear path to getting over 20 exahash sometime, end of 2021, 2024, first half of 2025. But there may be some quarters in the middle where, they struggle and actually fall behind, right? If you're not doubling your exahash. Now, there is another thing I want to look at right now because... Let me find it. Because it is a growing important piece of the puzzle. Give me 30 seconds to find this. If I don't, I'll just pull it up again. I know I have this somewhere. I don't know what happens to my tabs. All right. Quickly, give me a moment and I will just pull this back up. Okay, so there is something else worth talking about big time. Let me quickly just get to the real Gary Ginsler. Thank you for the super chat. Riot, the next dilution princess, kaput. I mean, Riot's got a 700. I know they want to authorize more outstanding shares, and maybe they're going to surprise me. They already have a $750 million at the market offering out there, so they got $750 million. Marathon's got a $1.5 billion shelf offering out there. CleanSpark's got an $800 million shelf offering out there. Bitfarms has a $375 million shelf offering out there. All of these companies are going to be diluting. When we just looked at those growth plans, when you've got a company talking about getting from 12 exahash to 31 exahash, they're not going to get there because somebody donated, 100,000 machines to them. This is how it's happening. Stock dilution is real. It is a part of this space. So... Okay, so what I wanted to look at is, this is a growing piece of the puzzle. This is the fees is what I'm trying to look at. So this is every block mined. You can see this was 839,968, so we're getting close to that 840,000. If you look at the fees, a lot of these are between 3/4 of Bitcoin and 1 full Bitcoin. Some of them are even a little bit more than that. This is, once again, this is the third time in the last 15 months that the fees have popped back up. This is a dramatic increase. So I'm going to go to the bottom of this chart and go back to page 32. So this is back to March 19th. So a month ago. If you look at the fees, historically, like this block was 0.12 Bitcoin, 0.19 Bitcoin, 0.2 Bitcoin. So even if you call it 0.2 Bitcoin, if they start to average 0.8 Bitcoin, that's 4x amount in the fees. So if the fees triple or quadruple or 5x, which at the moment is what they're doing, right, from this 0.2-ish to very close to, from 0.8 or 1.0. So with that increase and then the reward getting cut in half, all of a sudden when you mine a block, right, at 6.25, on this block, they got, whoever mined this block, which was the Binance pool, they got 6.25 Bitcoin and 0.122 in fees of Bitcoin. So that was insignificant. If you're going to get 3.125 Bitcoin of freshly minted Bitcoin and then an additional 1 Bitcoin in fees, all of a sudden the fees are going to be a gigantic mitigating factor to this halving event. So keeping our eye on these fees is going to be crucial. If we see the fees start, if this starts to be the new norm, even if it's somewhere between 0.7 or 0.8, that's really kind of 4 times what it used to be. So it's 4 times what it used to be, and the newly minted Bitcoins are cut in half. So in relationship, it's 8 times the level of significance that it used to be. So this is something that will help the Bitcoin miners in a big way if this persists. And there's an awful lot of talk that there's reason to believe as they continue to build, on top of the Bitcoin network, and, ordinals are a big part of this. So there's reason to believe that this could persist. It has fluctuated big time. This is the 3rd time it's popped up. There was a time several months ago where a lot of these blocks were getting 3 Bitcoin, 4 Bitcoin. We had one get 7 or 8. There were several blocks that got more in fees than they did in the reward, which, So if we get back to that territory, this is something that could affect the Bitcoin miners in a big way. So it's just something I point out. It's something to keep our eye on because this does make a big difference. So remember, if you're getting now 3.125 Bitcoin instead of 6.25, if you get an extra Bitcoin, now all of a sudden you're getting maybe 4.25 Bitcoin versus 6.25 Bitcoin. Well, that's not half. That's a lot more than half. So for the companies that are doubling or tripling their exahash, if they're getting these additional fees on top of that, if the price of Bitcoin is going up on top of that, if we get a pullback in the global hash rate, because a lot of machines are no longer profitable, we'll see. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is one of those times where there's so many moving parts to this. We're going to have to see how all this shakes out. So I know there's a lot of predictions out there and a lot of ranking of the Bitcoin miners, and I'm hesitant. I've talked about groups that I think are going to succeed and the ones that I'm very worried about, but I think we need to see how all these factors play out, and then how each individual Bitcoin miner executes on their plan to grow. And that's really what's going to dictate, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny though that Bitcoin got to $59,000, 960, and everybody was talking about that was the wall from BlackRock.
Well, there must be a buy wall somewhere in that neighborhood, because the 2 times we flash crashed, it was pretty darn close to the same number. On this day, we got down to 59,648. And then overnight last night, we got down to 59,573. So that's within, $150 of each other. So somebody's buying, just under 60,000, or just over 59.5. There must be a pretty big buy wall for now, right? That can change over time. Hopefully, we're on the way back up. And if you look, we're a bunch of green, zooming way into the 15-minute, we're a bunch of green candles in a row here. So, we've really been up all day today. This, if I zoom out a little, well, I'll go back to the 1 day. This purple line was this bad day we had on April 2nd. We kind of crashed, if you will, down to just $64,500. So, we held above that line, and now we're kind of below that line. So it would be nice to break above that line. And as you can see on the 1 day, like, here we are potentially, we don't want this to turn into resistance. We want to get that next move to the upside. So, if this day, the first thing is if we get a green candle, that's back-to-back green candles, that'll be good momentum. But like I talked about, I think we need to see this daily RSI retest this descending line of resistance. If we can break through that, if we can break through this 64,500, really get above 65,000, then I think we can get our next move up from there. So that's in the short term how I'm looking at Bitcoin. What I was going to go to here is basically just talk about, you've got the companies that have basically on the books plans to get to 20 plus exahash. So this is the amount of Bitcoin mined by company in the month of March. So we went through this the other day. Core Scientific did actually mine a little bit more than Marathon. This is the second month in a row Core Scientific's finished in first place. I would expect Marathon to finish in first place for most of the year this year. They've had a lot of machines offline. We'll see if they can just get a reasonable amount back online. They'll probably.
Who do you expect to be in first place?
From a number of Bitcoin mined per month, I expect Marathon to jump back into the lead for several months. We'll see if CleanSpark can take a run at these guys. Right? They've closed the gap massively. They're over 800 Bitcoin last month, so they are now in the neighborhood of Marathon and Core Scientific. They have executed big growth plans. They've already gone from 10 exahash to 17 exahash this year. They have a lot more growth plans ahead. So we'll see if they can catch these guys. Riot has some big growth plans ahead. Beyond that, you've got, we looked at Bitfarms has plans to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year. Iris Energy has already purchase ordered and has plans to get to 20 exahash by the end of the year. So that's 6 companies right there that have plans to get to 20 exahash by the end of the year. There's 2 more companies, Cypher and TerraWolf, that do have big growth plans as well. So, they won't get there by the end of this year, even if they stay on track, but they have plans to get there in 2025. So that's 6 by the end of this year. And let me go to the exahash chart because that's going to make a little more sense. So right now there's only one company that has more than 20 exahash. So we're talking about potentially by December 31st, 6 companies having more than 20 exahash, which is why I say if the global network takes a hit and, goes down or stays even, there's a lot of these companies, right? Bitfarms is at 6.5. If they can get to 21, that would be a big difference. Iris Energy's at 8. If they can get to 20, that's a big difference. Riot's at 12.4. They're looking to get to 31. So this is going to be key. And the other part about growing exahash is, right, all the machines they bring online are going to be the latest and greatest machines, which are significantly more efficient, and that will help lower their cost per coin. So somebody like a Bitfarms, it's really what I like about Bitfarms. They're looking to more than triple their exahash. Those will be all new, brand new machines. CleanSpark they just reworked their deal. They have 100,000 S21s that they have now are going to be S21 Pros, so the S21s were the latest and greatest at 17.5 joules per terahash. They're now going to get S21 Pros, which are at 15 joules per terahash. That's significantly less than half of what the overall global network is right now. So that is a gigantic, gigantic difference. So again, this is why it's hard to look at historical data versus what's coming. And that's why, and it's also not fair to just say, well, that's their plan on what's coming, because let's see if they do it. So it is going to be important to pay close attention to these investments over the year 2024. And execution on these growth plans is going to be vital to success, in my opinion.
Vital.
It's going to be vital. Thank you, everybody, for the likes. 182 likes. Appreciate it. You can smash the like button.
Remember, we used to get 500, Tom.
I know. Shooting for 500 likes. We're going into the halving, and you can see people have lost. You would think this would be interest being peaked, but people are very, very discouraged with the Bitcoin miners in particular. So, thank you guys for being here on the live stream. Thank you to the members in specific for taking this journey with us. And just understand, this is a part of what's going on. And I've been looking around YouTube. The people have really, 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 I don't know if lost interest. I would say lost hope in the Bitcoin miners. That is a gigantic sentiment that's out there. So, if we look at the overall...
You too, Sour.
If we look at the fear and greed index, it did pop down to 57 yesterday. That's as low as it's been in a while. 66 today. This is for crypto, but I would tell you that the fear and greed index for the Bitcoin miners, and that doesn't exist, but if it did exist, it would be in fear right now. It would be fluctuating in fear, pressing on potentially, extreme fear. There's been an abandoned ship scenario on these Bitcoin miners from the retail investors, which has nothing to do necessarily with the future success of their stock. What it has to do with is if these stocks do explode, there's been a mass exodus from retail investors. So, if these make them, now if they don't, then those people will say, see, I was right, and I was right to get out. But if history is any indicator, the volatility is real on these, and, we'll look at a few of these. Let me go to, if
Why
you
are
look...
you guys hating on freaking Bitfarms so much?
Yeah, the hate is real for Bitfarms in a big way. There's no doubt. But a lot of times, remember, the old rule.
What?
If max fear, that's when there's, blood in
Blood
the
on
streets.
the streets.
Even if it's yours, that's oftentimes the best time to invest.
14 blocks to go.
Like everything,
725.
that's not a hard and fast rule. That's not an automatic guarantee. But if you look, so with Cleanspark, if you look, right, nothing's really changed with this stock other than I won't say nothing's changed. They've had a series of good news after good news after good news. But you can see they peaked in February, and then they had a big pullback. They ran up again. They had a big pullback. They ran up again. They had a big pullback. So even if you don't have long-term conviction in these stocks, I mean, this is trading inside of a range. Now, at some point, it's going to break out of that range in one direction or the other. Some people may think, you know what, that direction's to the downside. Then, I understand. If that's what you think, then get out of the way. But right now, you're seeing a pretty clear trading channel, and you're going to see that on, we'll go to Marathon. That's the biggest one. Same thing.
Remember, I said math. I hope you remember that. I said it before it took off.
Which one?
Well, no, Jeff's picking on me about math.
Oh.
He's not picking. No, it was just a meme. Well, I won't even call that a meme coin. It was just a crypto that took off.
You called it?
Oh, yeah.
So December 27th, that's when a lot of these hit their all-time high. So if you look at Marathon, it was over $30 on December 27th. It pulled all the way back down to $14.65. It ran up over $30 again on February 27th. And this is where I'm saying these lines of support. We talked about these lines on the Tuesday live stream. Look at this line of support. There we go. Held, moved to the upside. That's what we're seeing. So, once again, all of these are clues to a puzzle that we don't know the answer to until it reveals itself. But this very strong line of support we talked about on several charts, this held pretty much to perfection. So it held on Marathon. If you look at Riot, same thing. These are not lines we drew yesterday, right? This line goes back to February of 2023. So this line's over a year old. What did we get? We bounced exactly off of this line and turned around and ran up. So I know technicals aren't everything, and there's a lot of different, ways to look at technical support, but sometimes the simplest things are these straight lines of support. And so many times they hold, whether it's just because they're there and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever you want to think. I mean, you can see this time, these really, really held up and worked nicely. especially for Marathon and Riot, which have been beat up badly. I mean, if you look at this is why I was buying, Riot under $8. Riot on December 27th was up at almost $19. It got, to over $18 on February 15th. It got over $18 on February 27th. So this moved down from, go from the December high, down to yesterday's low. That's a 58% move to the downside for Riot. I just didn't see anything happening with Riot. I know what the negatives are for Riot, and there's some issues they have to resolve. They're in a show me situation. Investors are waiting for Riot to perform. They've talked about their performance. They've talked about their growth in exahash. Investors are waiting to see them get from 12.4 to 21 and then to 31, and then of course start to mine more and more Bitcoin along with that. So my opinion has always been if they can implement that, and they've created all the infrastructure, they now have. We'll go back to this for those who weren't here. So Riot has energized the 400 megawatts at their Corsicana facility, which is going to be a total of a 1 gigawatt facility, which they claim will be the largest known Bitcoin mining facility in the world when it's done. They got 400 megawatts online. This was yesterday. So I think we can start to expect to see, or it should be our expectation, not so much in April because, 2/3 of this month is over, but we should see an improvement in April, an improvement in May, and a big improvement in June because they're claiming, they're going to be at 21 exahash by then. So the show me situation is going to be, now, the next 75 days. But the thing is, if you wait those 75 days, I mean, I doubt very much if they perform on a monthly operational update one after the next. I don't think you're going to get this opportunity to buy Riot at $8, right? We ran up to $9.
I can tell you one thing. They got 11 days. Their numbers are going to be bad come whatever they were supposed to mine in April, and they're not going to meet what they were supposed to do.
I mean, we will see.
That one word.
Batch.
That is, I'm telling you.
I don't think they added a massive amount in the month of April, so you're right. But we're going to get, when the monthly operational report comes out, we will see. But I do go back to, for me as an investor, what I'll be judging them on is they're saying that by June 30th, they're going to be at 21.4 exahash. That means they're planning on adding 9 exahash in the next 70 days, 71 days. So I'm not, if they don't get all the way to 21.4, it's not like I'm going to abandon ship. But what I think a reasonable expectation is they should close this gap in a big way. Maybe it's 6.5 exahash, not 9, and it takes them a month or 2 or 3 months longer. We've seen that across the board, but we should see measurable, sizable improvements each month for Riot over the next several months. That would be my expectation.
I have not sold my XRP. Actually, I added more XRP.
You bought more?
Yeah, not a ton, just a little bit. I've been dabbling back in. I still think it's going to go down. I still think it's going to get lower.
Well,
at 23 cents.
That brings me to, let's see if I have this up. If not, I'll bring it up. Bitcoin dominance. So this was just a few days ago. We hit not an all-time high, but a multi-year high on the Bitcoin dominance. And it's still very close to that. So to your point, George, with the altcoins, we haven't even begun. As Bitcoin dominance goes up, because remember, Bitcoin's not at its all-time high. Bitcoin's down, $13,000 from where it was a month ago. But dominance is at a multi-year high, which means the altcoins have been getting beat up. So, that's going to be a piece of the puzzle that we've been talking about. At some point, I don't know the exact time frame, but at some point it's going to be altcoin season. And, when the altcoins run, I do think we're going to get that cycle again.
I hope so. I'm going to go broke.
Let's do a poll. Who's gearing up for altcoin season and who plans on participating?
Oh, question, Tom.
Yes.
How much cash does Bitfarms have? And they're debt-free, correct?
I'm sorry?
They're debt-free?
They're debt-free. So they had a lot of debt. In February, they paid off the last bit of their debt, so they're debt-free. And they talked about their liquidity. I can't remember. I would have to look at their monthly operational update.
But they're in a good spot, though.
Yeah, they're financially, from a liquidity standpoint, they're in a good spot. And they do have an at-the-market offering open if they need more money. So they're financially, they're not in a, with zero debt, right? It's not a company where I know a lot of, it's funny. I don't even know that people really mean a lot of these comments. I get so many comments, this company's going out of business. This company's going out of business. Well, maybe someday they're going out of business, but a lot of these companies, the Bitcoin miners, the negative is there's been a lot of stock dilution. The positive to that is a lot of these Bitcoin miners, the ones that we talk about most, the ones that, for me that I own, have done two things. Number one, they've created a plan and they're executing a plan to dramatically grow their exahash. In addition to that, they've shored up their balance sheets. These are the best balance sheets going into a halving by far that the Bitcoin miners have ever had. So, and obviously that doesn't mean every single Bitcoin miner across the board. So please do your own due diligence. I've been saying there's going to be winners and losers. I think I just went through who I think the winners are. I think there's 6 companies that are looking at getting to 20 or more exahash in 2024. Those companies, I think, stand the best chance of having a good stock performance year this year. The 7th and 8th company are right behind them are Cypher and TerraWolf. So I think those have a good chance of having a good year. That's 8 companies that, to me are set up in a good way. Now, some of those companies do have some debt, so be careful from Bitcoin miner to Bitcoin miner. But a lot of them have what I would call, what rounds down to zero in debt. If you look and see, maybe they have $1 million of this or that, but for the most part, Bitfarms paid off all their long-term debt. Riot has no long-term debt. I think Digital has no long-term debt, and there's others. So balance sheet matters, especially as we go into the halving, right? In previous bull markets, in previous halvings and in this halving, the flip side is true. There are some companies that have no growth plans and their balance sheets are not necessarily built up to withstand, the pressure that's going to be put on them with the halving. So, at some point, if you haven't grown, if you're at 1 or 2 exahash and the reward's about to get cut in half, I just don't know what your business model is going forward. So, and there's several companies that are in that situation. So I suspect, whether it's 6 months or a year from now, we're not going to be talking about 19 Bitcoin miners anymore. A lot of people thought that would happen, including myself. I'm shocked everybody made it through the crypto winter. But what happened is a lot of people crawled their way to the finish line through the crypto winter, but it was just delaying the inevitable. They did whatever they had to do. A lot of them had to get rid of a lot of their machines, scale back, go through all their liquidity. So now, they made it through the crypto winter. Now they face the halving. So now they're not set up to go through that. So I do think there's 5 or 6 or 7 companies that are just not looking good going into the halving. Whether that means they go out of business in, the next 6 months, I'm not sure. But they're ones that, for me personally, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole from an investment standpoint.
Look at that. From bearish, Riot will easily go to $30 in the next 1 to 2 months. His name is Bearish. If that isn't an endorsement, I don't know what is.
Bearish, I hope you are 100% correct.
Where's your exit strategy on that? Or no, don't you have one?
For the Bitcoin miners, it's going to be very similar. And some of these are subject to change, right? If in the next 6 months, Riot falls off of this plan that we just laid out, right, I will reassess. George, you're the one who likes to say this is a fluid situation, right? If there's a change, and this goes for any investment that you have, if there's a fundamental change in the underlying investment, but that aside, if Bitcoin does what we think it's going to do, post halving, if the Bitcoin miners properly execute, then I will be waiting for, much later in this cycle to start selling off. And with my Bitcoin miners, I don't plan on fully exiting. With BitX, I may get 100% out of that if I play it right, and I'll dollar cost average out. But some of these companies that I think are going to succeed over the long term, I will hold for the long term. That doesn't mean I won't take profits, so I may pull back on my positions a year from now or 9 months from now or whatever.
Because we might as well just stay on if there's 12 blocks left.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'm all for that. We're here.
I'm trying to set it up again. We'll be like, I didn't know how to go live.
That's right. It'll take us longer to set up than it will. Let's go take a look at. So this is saying 3 hours, and let me refresh. This is saying 15. Is it 12? Is crypto behind? Yeah, this says 5:42 p.m. So this is running a little behind. I need to get real time here. Where should I be real time?
I don't know.
Give me a minute and let me try to find a real time.
Real time.
This is even further off.
1 hour and 24 minutes.
That's the estimate. That's the real time estimate. What is the current block that we are on? Yeah, you're the one who's not going to make it. 15 blocks to go according to CoinGecko. Is it less than that? Am I still not real time?
Edmund says it's 12.
Where's he looking? Somebody drop in the comments what website they're looking at in real time. I'll see if I can. Meanwhile, I'm looking to see if I can find it. This says we're 99.99% to the halving. 12 Bitcoin blocks until the halving. 1 hour and 56 minutes. This is at coinwars.com.
I wonder what's going to happen. What's your overall confidence still in Riot and all these guys? You're still 100% on them?
My confidence?
Yeah. Has it wavered, Tom?
Not in Riot. Not in CleanSpark. I will tell you, I mean, I have to be fair. It's one of my big positions, and I'm very bullish on Bitfarms, but there is a real potential cloud hanging over their head if Paraguay has a 180-day moratorium on Bitcoin mining. That is going to affect Bitfarms in the short term. So long term, I'm still, I still have my level of conviction, but that one does have a little more of a wild card out there that's outside of their control. Iris Energy, I think, is going to be one of the winners. I haven't seen anything from them that tells me otherwise. They seem to be executing the plan that they've talked about. A lot of these companies seem to be doing what they said they were going to do. 99.99% of the way to the halving. According to this, so this seems to be real time. Although this is meaningless, you know, we just need to see as each block gets solved, we'll know. Because, you know, some of these blocks can take 30 seconds and some, you know, we've had blocks that take 2-3 hours. That would be the ultimate whammy if, you know, one of these last 12 blocks we stall on. It's random. They average roughly 10 minutes a block, but weird things do happen. But we'll wait and see. They've been moving right along. The thing I liked about this other site is it was showing us block for block, but it wasn't in real time. So we're a couple of blocks behind, but you can see, like, this block took 10 minutes. The last block just took 10 minutes. The block before that took 6 minutes, 1 minute, 9 minutes. So this can vary. This one was 14 minutes. It's just random.
I'm
Watcher
still sick,
Guru.
guys.
Let me see if I can find Watcher Guru.
I'm not,
Darren S.
I'm probably
recommended that.
70, 80%.
You've been under the weather for a bit.
2 weeks. 1 week. I stared death in the face. Tom.
Death? You stared death in the face?
In the face over this sickness, yes.
I feel like that's
My wife's
possibly
like,
an overstatement.
You had the sniffles. You had the sniffles. I know.
All right, so I'm switching over. Per Darren S., I've switched over to Watcher Guru. Thank you, Darren. This is saying 1 hour and 18 minutes according to their estimation, and this is showing blocks in real time. So every time a block gets solved, we'll know.
But the problem is I don't drink. I do the vitamins, though. It's funny when I take, like, what is that stuff called? NyQuil? I'm, like, drunk.
Ty said, Cleanspark said it will compete with Marathon for facilities. And I will tell you, conversely, Fred said he views Cleanspark as their main competition. So that, I find Cleanspark's journey to be amazing because nobody, a year and a half ago, there is absolutely nobody other than Cleanspark Management. Cleanspark Management was saying that. If you guys remember, it's been maybe 2 years now. They came out with their presentation, and they said, we're going to be a top 5 Bitcoin miner. And I was even a big Cleanspark fan. They were one of my top positions back then. And so maybe that was a little more than 2 years ago, something. I'm not going to say laughed at them, but I said, my first thought was good luck. Good luck with that. And here they are. I mean, they're more than a top 5 Bitcoin miner. I think most people would agree at this moment, Marathon and Cleanspark are vying for that top spot. Obviously, Core Scientific mined more Bitcoin than both of them last month. You've got Riot that has massive amounts of infrastructure. So, there's still a lot of players, but operationally speaking, Cleanspark and their stock performance has shown it. I mean, they've just blown away the competition as far as their stock performance goes. They're the only Bitcoin miner that's green in the year 2024, and they're up significantly. Right, if we go to let's go to their chart. Where's January 1st? I mean, holy cow.
Buzz said, Ben from Bitfarm already hinted to Anthony Powers on live stream that Bitfarm has the all clear from Paraguay, and officials at Paraguay have met with the co-founders of Bitfarms.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. So, an unofficial...
I just can't believe they would ban it because they're the ones mining it. The officials.
Oh, you think that's who's stealing the electricity?
Come on.
We can neither confirm nor deny this?
They are. I mean, that's just how the game's played.
So this is where Cleanspark opened on the year until now. So they are up about 37%. All the rest of the Bitcoin miners are down on the year. So that's a dramatic difference. And by the way, if you go to their direct peers, Marathon being their most direct peer, if you go to where they were on January 1st, right? Well, technically this from December 29th, that's where they closed. So even after being up almost 10% today, they're down 30% on the year. So Cleanspark's up 36%, Marathon's down 30%. And by the way, Marathon's better than average. Most are worse than that. If we look at Riot, which would probably be the other one that you would consider in that neighborhood, they're down 40 to 41% year to date. So you can see, I mean, most of the Bitcoin miners are down 30 or 40 or 50. Some of these are down, you know, if you want to talk about the ones that I'm worried about, here. This is the number one stock I'm worried about. So from their peak on December 27th, not quite 4 months ago, GREE is down 73%. So I'm not the only one worried about GREE. Stronghold. $76. Somebody is saying, you should know that, Tom. I don't know what they're referring to. Oh, this is Ben Gagnon from Bitfarms. I will tell you, I think that's nice and that we got that informal thing, but this is, they have a political body that's going to take a vote on this. So, you know, politics is politics. Until we get a yay or a nay, this cloud will hang over Bitfarms' head. That's just the bottom line. It's nice to, you know, hear. I would call that a rumor. That's nice to hear. They're hinting towards maybe things are going to go their way, but, you know, I would just caution everybody, be careful trading on rumors, etc. You know, we don't know until we know. So, and for me, you know, my background being in auditing and accounting, that's how my mind works. So it's good. It's good that, you know, that's better than the opposite. It's better than rumors that it's going to pass, but we won't know until we know, unfortunately. And it will loom over Bitfarms' head until we know. But like we talked about earlier, if it does go the right way, and 86% of the people that voted, we did a poll, 86% of the people that voted think Paraguay is not going to have a temporary moratorium is what they're talking about for 180 days. 86% of the people think that's not going to happen. So I think that actually will be the opposite. As it hangs over a cloud right now, that's a potential catalyst. And again, that's one of my larger positions. So, you know, I'm hoping that will be the case. So, you know, Stronghold's had a rough time. If you look at Mawson, 73% down. I mean, these stocks that are down 70-something%, you've got to believe the market is deeply, deeply concerned. And I'm not just concerned because they're down 73%, because, you know, we just looked at Riot, which is down 40%, which is a dramatic move to the downside into the same period of time where Bitcoin's gone ballistic up. So it's not just the price of the stock. It's the underlying fundamentals of the company. These are the companies that have, you know, a half a exahash or 1 exahash or 1.5 or 2 exahash and, you know, no real strong balance sheet to create growth plans, right? Stronghold just did a $250 million shelf offering, but they're a 20-something million dollar company. I just don't see how they're going to get from point A to point B, and I'm just not sure, other than, you know, allow them to survive. And, you know, if you're a company, obviously that's your goal, so I support them doing what they can to survive. But I don't think that, you know, if you're looking at them from an investor's standpoint, I don't think you're looking to buy, you know, that stock right now.
I had to get chocolate.
Robin Sailors said, Tom, are you saying pound sand? To who? Who am I saying that to?
I'm saying to pound sand.
Pound.
It's not an easy thing to do.
It's sounds like an exercise in futility. But I understand the... Okay, so Buzz is saying it's on their X and the bill is only concerning illegal mining activity. That is incorrect. So that is not correct. The bill is a moratorium on all mining activity. They are concerned about the illegal mining activity, but the 4 articles that we read on the last live stream, all 4 of them, one of them from Routers, all from major news sources, all said that that bill includes legal mining activity. So understand, that I'm not the source of that. That is what has been reported by all major news outlets.
Yeah, the illegal won't stop.
Right, that's the joke of all of this. You can pass all the laws you want. They're already breaking the law. So you're going to pass a law for them to not break the law? That's futile. Midway is saying the Paraguay Senate votes won't be until May 10th at the earliest and might be later on in May. So that will hang over their head until that happens. By the way, the last time they had a similar bill, it passed. It had to get vetoed by the president. So Michael Anthony is saying, at what price did SDIG do their offering? They dropped, we can look, they dropped 30% the day they did their offering. So that's going to jump right. So this was the day they did their offering. So it looks like, prior to this giant down day, they were somewhere over $3. I mean, they candle wicked almost all the way back up to that today. But the problem is, if we go look at... If we look at Stronghold, this is now a $34 million market cap company. So of what use is a $250 million at the market offering for a company that has a market cap of $34 million? Now, if they can go raise $10 million and, their overhead is very small and that allows them to, maybe for the 6 months after the halving, if, it gets them from point A to point B, that may be the absolute right thing for them to do as a business. I just don't know that it helps them as an investment. Those are 2 different things. Scott Richardson saying the president of Paraguay vetoed it before. He'll do it again. So I don't think, Scott, I agree with you. I don't think this is going to happen, but we got to admit it's looming over their head, until we definitively know it's not going to happen. It's looming over their head. And Midway saying it's a different president right now, which is true. And I did read one article that said this president, might be more likely to not veto that. Although all indications from everything that I read is that while this is on the table, they are going to vote on it. It's a long shot that it would pass. That's my interpretation. I can't say that for a fact. We aren't going to know until we know. Okay, let me refresh. We are now at 11 blocks until the halving. According to this, 1 hour and 21 minutes. Midway said the current president of Paraguay used to be on the board of the central bank in Paraguay. Thank you, Midway. That is a great point, and that was in one of the articles. I did forget about that, and that does not bode well. Even having said that, I still don't think that this is going to happen, but, these are reasons to worry. Midway, are you concerned that this could go the wrong way?
I'm not worried. Even though It's not my largest holding, but it's up there.
I mean, I think the general consensus is that it's not going to happen, but I don't think it's fair to ignore it either. Michael Anthony said, insiders have been busy selling shares of Stronghold. So that is from Michael Anthony. I have not verified that. Oh, let's refresh. Yep, 10. MicroStrategy to 20 says we're now down to 10. So that was a 4-minute block.
Does Bitcoin go offline at all, or no? Will the program work automatically?
There's no offline.
That's amazing.
It just keeps going. It never stops.
That's insane to think about it.
Yeah. It's a remarkable.
Craig wrote some pretty good.
You're not going to let it go, are you? You're still holding out hope. Midway saying, I think there's a 90% chance it will go okay for Bitfarms. So I feel the same way. But I don't want to be dismissive. I mean, I'll say it for the last time. We don't know until we know. And that's how I look at everything. I never, you can listen to the noise, but it's until you've got confirmation from a reliable source that something's happened. We don't know. We don't know. You don't know. Crypto Golfer said, every altcoin is literally sideways for the last 15 hours. All eyes are definitely on Bitcoin. So that makes sense. I mean, this is the once every 4 years. This is their moment.
What's Bitcoin pricing doing right now, Tom?
Good question, George. Let's go to the 15-minute chart. So, I mean, we're sitting here hanging out close to this purple line at 64,500, which we've been kind of bouncing above and below all day long today. It would be really nice to close a daily candle above that, although I don't think it's critical. Obviously, we've got the whole weekend ahead. We've got the halving ahead.
Yeah, it could just be FUD of this Paraguay thing.
Well, it's not FUD because there is a bill proposed, and they will vote on it.
FUD. You don't think that the government's involved in making FUD?
Well, to what purpose does it serve for them? I mean, I do think there's political reasons to propose a bill that they know stands no chance of passing, right? We see that in the United States.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I'm not intimately familiar with the politics of Paraguay. But I do know in the United States that is extremely typical to introduce legislation that stands no chance of passing, but it is, politically beneficial to you to propose the bill. Yeah. For the people that vote for it, it's, politically beneficial for their constituency. They see them voting the way, they want them to vote. So, politics is politics. So just because a bill is proposed, by no means does that mean it's going to be passed.
No way, Jose.
JR is saying, those of us who've been in this for a while know that Bitfarms is a buy under $1. I mean, JR, I 100% agree with that. And that's why I'm saying at $1.50, I just don't know that I'll start dollar cost averaging in. Unless, of course, we get this vote gets behind us and we get a definitive answer and Bitcoin and Bitfarms continues to go down and Bitcoin continues to go up. But you're right. By the time this gets down to $1 under any circumstance, for me, again, that's just for me, and also apparently for JR, that would be a buying opportunity for me personally.
Do you think there's an odds under $1?
I just think that is highly unlikely. I think that is an unbelievably remote scenario. But the volatility is real. That's just the reality in this space. Like, anybody that rules anything out has not learned from the history of the monumental. I'm gonna sidetrack to a chart. I'm gonna go to the 1 week. This is Bitcoin on the 1 week.
Brazil's pissed off about their losing their cheap energy. That's what this is all about. Always has been, always will be.
So if you go here, if you go back in time to April 12th of 2021, on this day when Bitcoin was off to the races, there's not too many people that would have thought that by June, Bitcoin would be back under $29,000. From $64,000 in the middle of the bull market. We had a 55% pullback. So, I just bring this up because George asked me, do you think there's a chance that Bitfarms could go down to $1? I think that's an incredibly remote scenario, but the volatility is real. I mean, there is no way. This took me by, I was stunned at this move to the downside. And I'm sure I was not alone. But then we got this. From that day, we got a nice 138% move to the upside after that. And then obviously what followed that was the crypto winter. But, that's inside of a bull market. We had a 55% pullback. And some of these pullbacks, I mean, this was just the last bull market. This was 26%. This is just 2 weekly candles. This was 28%. That's 2 weekly candles. I mean, that's in the middle of a giant bull run up to a new all-time high. So it's always something to remember. And I talk about how, we've had less volatility. It seems like 20% pullback is the new 30% pullback. So that's been the new norm for going on 17 or 18 months now, is 20 to 23% pullbacks. But that doesn't mean that at any given time we won't get whammied to the downside or to the upside, right? We've seen gigantic, here's 3 daily candles. Right, that was a 26% move in 3 days. That was in February of this year. So, very volatile. So I want to look at the ETFs for a minute, and let me find that. So we've had a little bit of a run here dating back to last Friday. Obviously, it's this Friday. We don't have today's inflows and outflows yet. But last Friday, $55 million outflow. Monday, $36 million. Tuesday, $58 million. Wednesday, $165 million. Yesterday, technically was in the red, but it was basically flat, $4 million net outflow. Obviously, the majority of all of this continues to come from Grayscale, $166 million, $110 million, $79 million, $133 million, $90 million. So Grayscale continues to sell off. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Even though this one's just barely red, it is red. That's 5 days in a row. It's 7 out of the last 9 days. So if you want to say, sell, is this a sell the news or is this priced in? To me, this kind of says that, people have pulled back going into this halving. And obviously there was a monumental amount of buying in the months preceding this. I think this will flip back around. I'm not saying, today or Monday, but I still believe we haven't even begun. These Bitcoin spot ETFs are just a fraction in market cap of what they're going to be a year from now and 2 years from now, in my opinion. So I think there's massive amount of buying pressure ahead. But we can get these short-term periods where this goes the other way on us and it causes a pullback in Bitcoin. So this is a new, big force in Bitcoin. There's now 9 blocks to go. So the last block was 8 minutes. The block before that was 4 minutes. So we're getting very close,
I can't believe
George.
it can be that fast. 4 minutes.
I've seen them in less than a minute. And I've seen them take hours.
Why do you think that is?
It's random. I mean, it's
they just guessed lucky guess, so it's a lower number or a lower letter.
That's exactly right. But you can see, and that's why they have difficulty level adjustments. If the network is getting so big that on the average, and let me see if I can find that. Right, so we're now more than halfway to the next adjustment, and it's been taking 9.78 minutes on the average.
You guys are so funny. Queue up, it's the final countdown. I could queue it up.
What are you queuing?
Nothing. Somebody said to queue up a song.
Oh,
the final countdown.
That's what they mean by Europe. It's the fine. Oh, we're gonna get we already turned our ads off, so we can't get demonetized. It's the final countdown. It is indeed 4 years in the making. MicroStrategy to 20K said, Tom, I couldn't agree more about the Bitcoin ETFs. Thank you, MicroStrategy. So glad we're on the same page on that one. Crypto Fever said, George, it doesn't matter what block to block is. It's the average over long periods of time that matter, and that's as close to 10 minutes as possible. So that's exactly right.
How often does that change? Like every month?
Every 2 weeks, they reset the difficulty. Roughly every 2 weeks. Every X number of blocks.
When you say it just does it automatically?
That's right. They is nobody.
That's
they
crazy.
Is the machine. So you can see right now, if everything stays exactly as it is, we're going to get another 2% increase. Now, this is likely to change with the halving. We're going to see if machines come offline.
How many coins what was the reward for before the first halving?
50, I believe, is where this started.
200?
50.
Oh, it wasn't
I think
200.
it went 50. Huh? No, 50.
So it went 50 to 25?
50 to 25 to 12 and a half to 6 1/4 to now 3 1/8. So you can see we get these roughly every 2 weeks. We get these adjustments. The last one was almost 4% increase in the difficulty level. The average exahash was at 618 exahash. So if we go back in time to the last halving, we were at 114 exahash just prior to the last halving. I don't know if it was this 114 or 115. So then you can see. We were at 115. Then we had the halving. We did get down to 98. So there was a pullback in the last halving. But you can also see that, a month and a half later, we were at 123, which is more than it was before the halving. So that's what's been the case. If we look at the previous one, and we might as well just do it. We'll go back.
Do it.
You're going to be shocked at how small the network was in the previous halving. This is mind-blowing. What was this? I can't remember what month this was, but it should be evident. I mean, look at this. We're at 1.6 exahash. The whole global network was, there's 15 individual publicly traded companies that have more exahash than the entire global exahash at the prior halving. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact week of the prior halving, but it was in 2016, so it was somewhere in this 1 exahash range. 1 to 1.5 exahash. So we've gone from 1 exahash to 600 exahash in 2 halvings. Now that's 8 years. So the question is, do we get a nice pullback? I mean, You can see in January of this year, we were at 500 exahash. That would be, even if we got a month or 2 or 3 of that, if this pulled back to 500 exahash as these companies geared up and significantly increased their exahash, then, that would bode well.
Have you heard about the story of how the dollar is really getting tanked right now and people don't even realize it because it's gone, the value's gone up?
What? Elaborate.
US dollar.
I mean,
that Japan, you know how Japan's currency got wrecked here? The reason their currency got wrecked was they were getting rid of all their treasury bills, and they've been buying gold. And so at some point in time, it's just a matter of time now before the currency, the United States currency, plummets.
Well, do you mean as far as the DXY goes versus other currencies?
Yes. Yeah, you know how like all of a sudden our currency, the United States currency, is just went up, straight up, basically.
Our currency has been at a 20-year high for the last 2 years, and in the last couple of weeks, it's had another big run up. We can look at the DXY, but this is directly correlated. I mean, this is a 100% correlation to the market's expectation of rate cuts. So we're at 20+ year high interest rates. We are.
But everybody thinks that we're going to cut this coming.
No, nobody thinks we're going to cut. So rate cuts have been. They were coming into this year. They were pricing in 5 rate cuts. The futures. That's now 1 or 2 rate cuts. So that's why we've seen, and that's happened really in this period of time since we got that bad CPI report. Look what's happened to the DXY. I mean, it's just gone up a little bit sideways over the last few days, but this is a gigantic run up over the last, month. And this green line's a 20-year high. So this is not going to come back down to earth until the market starts to feel like interest rates are back on the table. And I have an article because I found one bank that agrees with me. Let me see if I can find that article. Because right now the market's pricing in 1 to 2 rate cuts by December 31st. I've been saying I think there will be at least 3. I understand the market has abandoned that, and this has swung massively. They were pricing in 5 to 7 rate cuts coming into this year. So there's one out of all the banks. There's one bank. This just came out a couple of days ago. This was in Bloomberg. Citi says Wall Street is wrong to slash the Fed rate cut bets. So I've highlighted Citigroup. The Fed remains concerned that the surprisingly strong run of economic growth could stall. As a result, the 2 analysts are sticking by their forecast for 5 quarter-point cuts this year being 2024. So despite the fact that the market has absolutely given up on 5 rate cuts, the market's given up on 3 rate cuts. They're now debating between 1 or 2 rate cuts. These 2 analysts at Citibank are holding their ground, and they're saying by the end of the year, they're going to ultimately be put in a corner where they're going to have to do these. And that doesn't mean 5 separate quarter point cuts. So that's a 1.5%, 1.25% would be 5 cuts, 5/4% cuts. And that could come all at once for all we know later in the year. But at some point, I do think the rubber's going to meet the road. This is going to come to a head. And despite the fact that, maybe inflation is still sticky, maybe it looks like the job numbers are still okay, as the economy's getting beaten down, at some point, I think that Citibank is right. At this point, it seems like it's just me and Citibank. Can we do a poll? Maybe like, you want me to do it? 1 rate cut, 3 rate cuts, 5 rate cuts. No,
I have a question. Next question, Tom, is it true that we've already raised $7 trillion this year? Well, I mean, it has to be.
That we've already done what?
We've borrowed $7 trillion.
Well, remember, we have to, our debt comes due, so we have to put new debt out. So yes.
You gotta keep paying it forward, yep.
Right. So it doesn't mean that the debt has gone up by that much, but we've had to issue that much new debt. Right. This is what I'm saying. The longer that goes on, the more of a disaster it is.
So what happens? I mean, we're going to be approaching in 2 years close to $40 trillion. It just is what it is.
Yeah, we will. That's exactly right. Remember when this went to? I don't want to sound old.
When does it end? Do we just keep going to 50 trillion? Then 60 trillion? Then 70 trillion?
My answer to that is, if you remember, I think it was under George W. Bush, we went to 4 trillion. And everybody pressed the panic button. This is the end of the world. This cannot go on. We cannot keep having our debt go up. And I think, and I may be getting this wrong, but basically pretty much every president has doubled this. This is a nonpartisan issue. You know, it went from 4 to 8, and then, you know, it went from 8 to 16. So where's the end? So far, there's no indication that there's any end to this. For the last several presidents in a row, Republican or Democrat, they've doubled the debt.
So then my question is, do you think that, and I'm sorry, I don't think, this is why I like Bitcoin, by the way. This is the only reason why I really love Bitcoin, is because our fiat will fail. Do you think our I hate to say it this way. I ain't even saying it that way.
I'll answer it before you ask it. I do not think the dollar is anywhere near failure. I think we're decades and decades and decades away from that. But that does not mean that it won't erode, right? We know inflation. Forget the DXY. This is strength versus other currencies.
Right.
The dollar is getting devalued. We see inflation is real, right? And the inflation that's happened. And remember, at one point, we were at 9% inflation. So even if we get it back down to the Fed's target at 2%, all the inflation that happened doesn't go away, right? It doesn't reverse. That would be deflation. And it's not impossible to go through a period of deflation, but so the prices, you know, the prices we remember things at, I was just going through a few things, and it was like...
But how can it be acceptable? I guess that's the question. How can we put people back in office that just keeps the longevity? It's more or less, you and I are fine, Tom. I mean, we're in our 50s. We'll be fine. But our kids, I mean, how are they? They're going to be burdened with debt. You know, the one thing that I've always tried to live by is, let's leave this place a little better than what we got it. And that's not going to happen with the United States.
We're not the first generation that's on track to leave it worse than we found it, unfortunately.
We are the first generation.
I would not say that's true.
The baby boomers?
Yeah, the generation before is... Look at what's happened, and for those of you around the world, you can judge your own country if it's traveled a similar path. I think, you know, a lot of Europe has had a similar path. In the United States, you know, 40 years ago, it was, you know, there was a mass majority amount of the families that could live on a single family income and, you know, live well. And, you know, that's a rarity now. So now there's a lot more technology and, you know, so we got a lot more toys and bells and whistles, but, you know, can we afford a house the same way our parents could or their parents could?
No, not
Can
at all.
So all of those things, we've already taken a whole generation.
So you're talking about the measuring points, but I mean, it just seems... The last few years, it just seems like everything is spiraling out of control as far as costs go. Inflation has really set in hard. Whatever the reason is, I'm not talking about the reason or whatever. But it just seems like it's just out of control. It's spiraling out of control.
You're 100% right. In the United States, this is the worst inflation in 40 years.
Right.
We were kids the last time there was this kind of inflation.
second administration to Carter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last time
The last time inflation was the way it was.
That's exactly right. So for me, I was,
And
I'll
wasn't
call
that
myself a
inflation
kid back then.
basically, looking back on it, wasn't that inflation basically because of oil?
Well, we all remember the oil crisis. I
Right.
remember it was, depending on the area, what was the last digit of your license plate as to whether or not you could even go buy gas that
Right.
day.
Yeah,
I mean,
day. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
that's how, that's where it got to with oil in this country in the mid to late 70s. So, we haven't been in a world like that here in the U.S. I don't know wherever, there have been a lot of countries that, oil, natural gas, we've seen that, we've had big problems over the last few years with that. There was a scare 1 or 2 winters ago that, some countries were going to have a problem in the winter just from a weather standpoint because it didn't have the energy.
This is so funny. Darren asks, did you write this wrong on purpose? George, this is say super over your education to understand. No, it's pretty easy to understand, my friend. It's not hard to figure out. Where are we with blocks, Tom? How many we got to go?
I'll
The
press
final
refresh
countdown.
just in case. 9 blocks. 9 blocks. Whoa.
9?
We're stuck on a block.
Oh, you're kidding me.
We're 19 minutes into this block. Oh, see? This is why I'm saying. This is why they can't pinpoint it.
We're stuck on a block.
The block before that took 8 minutes. Now we're 19 minutes into this one.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Let's see. Let's see. Wait for it.
Do you think if there is a way that cryptocurrency can fix the debt problem or fix the inflation problem?
Do I think that what?
Bitcoin or cryptocurrency has a way to fix the debt problem?
No. I think that Bitcoin in specific over a generation or two may be the way that people live in the future, but I think we're a long way away from that, and I don't know what fixes our debt problem here. Somebody earlier, one of our members was talking about we're basically in a debt spiral, crypto fever. Said, Tom, it's a fiscal debt spiral, and it has already begun. There is no saving this anymore. Only way out is to monetize the debt and kick the can down the road via insane amounts of money printing, which, I mean, crypto fever, I agree. I think we've been doing that, for when they turned the money printing machine, they shut the world down. I'm sorry, they can turn our stream off, but, they shut the world down. They turned the money printing machines on. What happened in, a window of time is unprecedented. And I mean that word in by its real definition. It's just absolutely unprecedented. And it was raining money, and the productivity was down in a way that we've never seen in the history of time. And debt spiraled, money printing spiraled. And here we find ourselves. And it was already seemed like an unfixable problem before that happened. And then that happened. So, where does that leave us? And I'm not trying to be gloom and doom. I will tell you, this sounds like sunshine and rainbows, but there's a solution to every problem. I certainly have no idea what the solution to this problem is. And and sometimes that solution includes some pain and suffering in the middle. So I don't know. But Midway saying the debt problem started after 9/11. So that's true. There had to be a massive amount of infusion to, that was an unprecedented global event.
I think the statement goes, war, what is it good for? Not your debt. Tom, did Bitfarms make a profit last year?
Last year?
Last earnings, how about last quarter? That would have been the last one. They didn't report the first quarter yet.
They're going to report the first quarter, and I still don't think they'll. I would have to look. I tend to look at I don't even remember the gap numbers. I just pay almost no attention, so I apologize. I would have to even look. I look at the cash numbers because that's where all these companies are at right now. Obviously, at some point, they need to go gap positive, and a couple of them did report gap positive. Some of them reported gap positive because they took the one-time big positive
but they
hit.
can't do that.
Bitfarms, well, they only have 804 Bitcoin, so that's not a big one-time hit, for the change in methodology. Okay, we just solved that block. 22 minutes. Block solved, 8 blocks until
that took
the halving.
Took 22 minutes.
22 minutes for that last block. This is what I'm saying, and it
So
can
it could be
any
another
number.
hour and an hour and 20 minutes, I guess.
It could be another hour until we solve the next block.
What?
That happens. Yes.
They're messing with us. They're trying to get it to 420. Okay, so Tom.
Yes.
Would you like to call Ethereum broken? Or have you read anything on it lately?
No. So whatever's going on with Ethereum in the short term, I have not paid. I'm Bitcoin. Turned into a Bitcoin maximalist, at least in the short term, as we approach the halving here.
You should become a Solano maximalist. I mean, for me, the only thing really in a savings account is Bitcoin. Everything else is that's why I'm in other currency. Pay George and time overtime. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
We're getting overtime pay. Woo!
And thanks for being a member, and thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, that is true. Who's going to get the golden coin at the halving, the first one after?
Potluck.
It is, yeah. Now, are the pools competing? They compete to solve the block the fastest, correct?
Right.
So, they could do a whole bunch of work and not get paid anything.
Every block does that on every block. Every pool does that on every block that's solved. They're all continuously trying to solve a block. But, obviously, each block ultimately is solved by one.
Do you know if that's really true, Tom, what Lawrence just wrote? BlackRock owns a bunch of residential houses, and the government is paying $2,500 per illegal immigrant, approximately $10K per month at these houses.
I don't know about that second part. I do know that BlackRock is not alone in that a lot of hedge funds and there's a lot of big business buying up housing in the United States. That's a part of what's a little bit broken right now. I'll say a little bit. You guys can say however much you want.
Okay, I'm going to ask that question. Tom, you hold no Bitcoin. Why is that? You're just riding the miners, but no conviction in Bitcoin?
Well, I do hold, as a proxy, I hold BitX, and I've been dollar cost averaging into that for a significant period of time. So I do, that's a 2x leverage on Bitcoin. So for the things I have high conviction in, I play a lot of 2x and 3x leverage things, ETFs. So for me, if I have that high of a level of conviction, if I like it once, I like it 2x. I really like it 3x, but there is nothing 3x Bitcoin.
Darren's drunk, by the way. Shocking. George doesn't understand Bitcoin block solving 101. I'm trying to keep the conversation going. So I'm asking the questions.
George asks questions on behalf of the world.
Yes, I mean, people don't know that.
Right. Not everybody has the same level of knowledge in this area. Kay is asking, I wonder if we'll get another God candle. So I would be really surprised if we get a massive move to the upside with the halving. Like instantaneously God candle-esque type scenario.
90 days.
Barry C is saying the Hong Kong ETH ETF soon. Right. So unlike here, Hong Kong's doing Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs.
So, Tom, have you reached out to any Bitcoin miners lately in the last 90 days?
No.
You just don't want to talk to them anymore?
I don't want to say that I don't want to talk to them anymore. I was not finding a lot of value in and I'm not saying that there's no value, and I have talked about getting back onto that and doing that again, and we haven't done it, so I suppose I need to do that. I always feel like I get more criticism than anything, because the reality is all these CEOs or any other level of management can tell us is what they've already told the general public, right? It's against, essentially, it's the SEC, against SEC regulations. They can't give us any new information when I talk to them. Now, that doesn't mean we can't go over some stuff and get some clarity. And, there have been benefits to some of these interviews. Some of them have answered questions I thought maybe they wouldn't answer. So, and there's a lot of other people interviewing all of these interviews, including, now Fred and Matt are going on to some of the giant channels and doing interviews. I know that they would, just because they've come on, they would all come back on if we asked. But, they're out there so much already. Am I bringing any value in that to do, add to that whole? If I am, I guess let me know.
Crypto golfer, I think that when there's any type of update in usually systems and computer systems, there's like a repurging or resetting itself that could have been in the program. Hello, McFly. If you understand how you program, which I do, you could have done something that could have repurged itself to put certain coins into a certain area so they don't have to reallocate them every single time that they, do mining for the next block. That makes a lot of sense. And matter of fact, if 80% of the people agree with me, I could get them to change it.
I'm going to say
80% on the block chain.
Jim said, over 200 watching, hit the like button. Thanks for pointing that out, Jim. If you could do us a favor and smash the like button, we would appreciate it. Let's get people on to join us for we're having a little bit of a down candle here in the last 15 minutes.
Oh, look at that dump.
This is our low on the day since we pumped in the middle of the night. Midway said, I respect that you didn't do the additional hut interview when you got bad vibes. Thank you, Midway. I just felt like, I thought they were going to come on and answer all their questions, and it became evident that's not the direction they were moving in. So I really felt like that was not the way to go. So thank you for pointing that out. Frank, thanks for the super chat. Frank said, thanks, guys. Go Bitcoin.
This has been fun. If you have any questions, please write them down.
Once every 4 years, whether you like it or not.
My butt's always hurt, crypto golfer.
Barry C brings up a great point. He said, Tom,
What?
You could ask how big a batch is. Crypto Fever said, Tom, I disagree. Interviews are absolutely great.
Oh.
So thank you for the feedback. I know I kind of get discouraged about them because of the reasons I talked about. But I like talking to these guys.
Uh-oh, Calvin.
All right.
Calvin, you drinking? Find me at a disadvantage. He said the interviews are important to the members. For the members, not Tom. For the members, his paid members.
Well,
his Discord members, his subscribers.
That's a fair point. Thank you, Calvin.
Point. Yep. I agree with that. Yeah.
Where does Tom see the channel going? What does Tom want to do? I mean, George and I are both in this. We've told you why we're in this. You know, I think for the amount of effort that we put in, for the amount of videos that we've done, you know, I'm glad we're at 20,000 subscribers, and that is very exciting, but we remain a very, very small niche channel. We plan on keep doing what we're doing. I hope that people enjoy this content. I still spend an awful lot of time on this stuff. So, and I'm continuously, even when I'm not, you know, I am doing deep dives on all these miners at all times. So I've got a deep dive. My next deep dive video that I'm going to put out for the members is for HUT. For everyone else is Riot Blockchain. So, you know, I've been working on both of those in the background.
So you're not going to do one on Stronghold Digital?
I don't.
I saw the CEO the other day. I was just like, what a putz.
Somebody in the comments section. So you tell me, George, somebody has been repeatedly saying, oh, you pumped Stronghold. You pumped Stronghold.
If you watch, so there was one video where you talked about doing a swing trade.
Is that
if you watch only one
what
video,
was that, like a year ago?
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
So a year ago, I said I might do a swing trade. I know
and
several times you and I both...
You did do a swing trade, by
the
way.
I did, and I made money, but...
Yeah, you made a ton. So did I. I mean, it was a really good trade.
I don't think by any definition anybody could say that I've pumped Stronghold. Also, none of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, and everybody should be, as you guys well know, please do your own due diligence. Not for my sake, for your sake. It's your money.
Right.
And we're in no position, you know, somebody asked me what we're going to do with this channel. We're in no position to pump or dump anything. We do not move the market, even on a micro cap stock. So that's just, you know, that's our reality. That doesn't mean we don't love what we do. We love our members, and we thank everybody for all the support over the years.
7.
Let's go take a look. Oh, guess what I did?
What?
I accidentally closed that window again. I'm infamous for that. What was it called?
I have no AC, and I'm sitting in a hot room, so...
Really?
I'm suffering for you guys.
I'll have that back up in a second.
Yeah, so there's a good one as you're pulling that up. I buy a HVAC unit for my house that's like the variable compressor. So because we didn't use it all winter, it grew mold on it. It smells just like stinky feet.
Pomp did an interview with Stronghold the day before yesterday. This according to somebody in the chat. Very interesting. George and I have said many times, regardless of the stock, and we've caveated this always, we like what Stronghold is doing. I'll still say that right now.
Yeah.
But we've always caveated it with, you know, as far as the business side of it goes, I'm just not sure what their path is.
Well, I mean, they started wrong right from the beginning. I mean, no offense to that guy, but you can't have somebody that eccentric as the face of the company, and they didn't get that hint real quick.
I should find that interview. I haven't watched that. Thank you to whoever that was.
Who is Pomp?
Pompliano. I don't know who that is. He's a big name in Bitcoin. He's on CNBC all the time, and I'm sure other places. I like his once a week. He does like a 3 or 4 minute quick. I think his catchphrase is like "bang bang" or something like that. I could be getting that wrong. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong.
I have a joke already. I can't say.
Midway saying Wolf could be an interesting interview. Just so you know, I wrote that down.
He canceled on us.
I know, but that doesn't mean we can. And that was like over a year ago, so we could circle back around.
It's halving day. This is Frank, so I'm having to double my tip.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for the super chat on the Bitcoin halving day. Barry C., I think he's talking about Pomp said the New Yorker with a pretty wife. Crypto Fever said, yeah, Tom, is Anthony Power paying you and George because he keeps shilling his videos in the Discord?
No.
And receiving free advertising via your following and your Discord. No, he didn't. Anthony Power does not pay us. I think, did we have him on the channel one time?
You did. You interviewed him.
Yes.
So he does something with that. What was the name of that company? Compass Mining. And he I think this is how, this is how he makes his living, and he writes for them or something like that. I'm not a fan of Compass Mining. I think they're bad news, and at some point in time, that news will come true.
Also, I think
if you read agreements, you can't have a one-sided agreement.
I know you were trying to get something done with them. You also met with them in person at the Bitcoin conference and all that. You did not get a good vibe out of Compass Mining. I know. All right.
No, it's just, you can smell it. If, that's the one gift from being from New York that I have.
You got a sense. You got a sense for these things.
Crypto Free, so he's using your channel to grow his channel for free.
I mean, to however much he's able to. Like I said, we're a small enough channel. I think I've watched. I know him, and he's with McNally Money, and McNally Money did invite me on his channel a while back, and we had a nice conversation. I know those two guys are doing their thing. I know Anthony Power spends a lot of time, effort and energy on the Bitcoin miners. I know there's a few of us that do this. I don't know what to say. I don't begrudge whatever they're doing.
Think Compass Mining YouTube is gone? Is that really gone? You can't get it anymore? It's gone. They closed the channel?
Their YouTube channel's gone?
That would make sense.
If we're going to go all the way to the halving, I need a 1 minute and 30-second
Oh, take your time.
break.
No, it's still up.
Can you talk, George, while I disappear for 1 minute?
I always try to talk.
It's on you. Ladies and gentlemen, to George. I'll be right back.
I think Anthony sometimes shouts out. I think Twitter or X, ever since Elon's taken over, is more professional. And a lot of people use it for their news now. Doubling down on puts on the channel. No, me personally, I'm just worried about the longevity of where we are as a United States with our currency problem. I have two younger kids. Well, not younger kids. They're what? And they're one's 22, one's 18. And I think that I just want them to have a great life, same life that we had. I'm 54, going to be 55 next month. Woohoo. And it's just sad. It's just sad to think that the opportunities that that were afforded to me aren't going to be afforded to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Hey, oh yeah, that's what we should do. We should prove to Tom that I can get more super chats than him. That'd be cool. Tom came out of the closet. No, Tom's going to probably stay in. And I think that's one of the reasons why we started this channel, is because, the last 2 years in crypto, in the Bitcoin mining investment channel, it's been crazy. I mean, look at what did CleanSpark get down to? In the $2? 7 to go. Thanks, Edmund. 7 to go. Audit the Fed and we will go away. Never been audited. I know it's never been audited. I think, hey, Lawrence, they should probably audit the gold, don't you think? No, but I think if the United States falls as a country, I think the rest of the world's in trouble.
All right.
That's the other thing that people don't talk about. You know, we're like the police for the whole world. It's not just United States. You know, I mean, my nephew just got. Where is he? He went to Germany. He got deployed to Germany. So.
Did I miss the
Josh,
halving?
I'd like to thank you for the super chat. No, you didn't.
Wow, yes, Josh, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
He said it was because you left. He's like, for George.
That one's for George. You guys want me
Yeah,
out of here? Okay, I mean, you just let me know.
I know we're slackers. Well, here's the other thing too. This isn't Tom's full-time job, nor is it my full-time job. This is a secondary because I mean it doesn't. It was. We tried to get it to be Tom's full-time job, but it just, you know, for whatever reason, YouTube changed the way that they do payouts, so that completely shifted our thought process going forward.
Yes, without mentioning numbers, I mean,
Yeah.
We could have a very nice dinner out a couple of times a month with what we make on YouTube, and that's probably about it. So this is not how we make money.
Right.
So
No,
so for
we
that
appreciate
reason,
everything.
Right. I was just going to say
Right.
we extremely appreciate the super chats because, you know, the like George said, the methodology is just drastically changed, and that's just the reality.
Does that mean we got 6 blocks to go, Tom?
6 blocks to go.
6 to go. We're doing it. We're doing it.
We're
This
closing
stuff is
in.
real.
Let's get lucky. Let's get a couple blocks that get lucky.
Tom, would you buy any gold since we're on this whole kick? Would you buy any gold? Do you own any gold?
I don't own any gold. At this time, I would not buy any gold for 2 reasons. Number one, it is at or near its all-time high. So I don't like to buy things at their literally all-time high. Number two, I have a higher risk tolerance. I'm at a point in my working. I expect to work for. Honestly, I don't ever expect to retire. Whether I can financially or not is not the issue. I don't really ever expect to retire. And so to me, gold just doesn't make sense, in my opinion. That's me personally. I totally understand people that buy gold. And guess what? All the people that buy gold, they've been very right the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It's at its all-time high. It's not for me. I'm looking for better. And that doesn't mean that I'm looking for a 5X on every single thing that I invest in. Some things that I invest in, I think I'm a year or 2 away from them doing what they're going to do. But I like to build out positions. I don't buy all at once. I dollar cost average in. I'll tell you guys something that I'm dollar cost averaging into right now that may continue to go in the wrong direction, but I think eventually, sometime in the next 24 to 36 months, is going to have a huge upside.
Tesla.
It's not Tesla. I got spooked on Tesla. 100. So I have on some of my watch list, I put a dollar amount and say, you know what, if it gets to X, I'll start dollar cost averaging in. But there's 2 things that prevent that. Number one, I only have so much money. So, you know, if too much time has passed and I've put my money into other things, then sometimes I'll miss the opportunity for that reason. On Tesla, quite honestly, George, you know, you kind of shifted my Tesla expectations. And we'll pull that up. Because Tesla just went under my price point that I talked about.
Right. Oh, $1.50.
That's right. So this was going to be when I started dollar cost averaging in. But in reality, you know, when you brought that up, we looked at this. This is December of 2022, January of 2023. This got down near $100. So can Tesla get down to 100? When it gets momentum up, it runs like the wind. When it gets momentum down, I think there's a really good chance. So in concept, I was going to say, you know what? From 150, I'll dollar cost average in, even if it gets all the way down to 100. But I've gone into so many other things in the middle that I just don't have. I can't allocate the resources to this, and I've lost a lot of my conviction in what this company does and what their long-term prospects are. Now, having said that, this has always been a phenomenal swing trade type of a company, but I'm just going to stand aside for now.
Huh. I don't know. I mean, once I think Tesla announced they're no longer an EV company, I think they're take off. They can't talk about what they're really doing. They have to play this little game that they're an EV company.
Well, they are an EV company. It's 99+% of their revenue.
Revenue, correct.
Yes. Now, yes,
Not
you're
what
right.
They're spending their money on.
That's right. They've got a lot of other plans. And we'll see how many of those plans end up going through Tesla, because remember, the other thing is, depending on Elon Musk, he's got a lot of other companies that are not publicly traded. So he's got other vehicles for which he can do things in.
No, I just think that that's going to be an issue.
The EV part?
Yeah.
I mean, these are not good days for EVs. We'll take a look at my EV watch list. I think I still have that up, and we can take a look at that. So I'm going to show you something that I'm dollar cost averaging into, and I think I could be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months early even still, and I've been dollar cost averaging into this for a while. I will give a shout out. There's somebody who talks about this nonstop, and it's Stockmo. So I would be remiss not to mention Stockmo's name. He talks about the TMF nonstop. This is...
I have not heard, seen that name in probably the last time. I haven't watched any of his videos, by the way. Sorry, go on.
I'm not a regular watcher. I subscribe to hundreds of different channels, and so it's hard. I can watch only very few from time to time, so it's I can't keep up with everybody. And going into the halving, I've really tried to focus on the channels that talk directly about Bitcoin, just to stay in the loop as to what the large YouTubers are saying, what the sentiment is out there. So but I do know, and maybe he's not talking about it anymore, but he was talking about it, and this, I think that this is, I don't know why I'm looking at it on this time frame, but if you look at this, this is a this is a 3x leverage on the 20-year treasury bonds. And you're going to see, because we are at...
Those things have got to go crazy.
We're at 20-plus year historic high interest rates. So if you hold a 20-year bond, they're getting destroyed right now. So this is at an all-time low. This chart goes back, I'm going to go all the way back. This chart goes all the way back to 2009. This is the lowest this has ever been, because we are at, if you look at the 10-year bill, we're at or near all-time, 20-plus year highs. So as the current bills are trading at a high rate, right, if you want to try to get rid of a 20-year treasury bill, which are at much, much lower rates, they're getting decimated. So the reverse is going to happen. As these sit at all-time lows, as interest rates come down, this is going to go up. There's a 3x inverse relationship. So whether, you might think I'm a year early on this. If you think there's going to be no interest rate hikes for the next year, I might be a year early on this. But I am betting that at some point, interest rates will go down. And you can see, like, in 2020... this was at $467. That's a 10x from here. I'm not looking for that. I don't think it will get back to that. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. But if you go back to 2023, this is somewhere in the neighborhood of $100. That's more than a double just to get back to where it was a year ago. And a year ago, interest rates were historically high. So I think this is a potential 3, 4, 5x.
So
if I hold on to it
down.
As interest rates go down, these 20-year treasury bonds, which have much lower rates, are going to be worth more. They're trading at a gigantic discount right now. So this will go up as interest rates go down. There's no market emotion involved in this. This is just a mathematical fact. But the key being, are interest rates going to go down? Now, if we live in a world where interest rates never go down again and they actually go up, then this will just keep getting worse. So, you know, that's what this is. So I have a lot of different things that I do. My point to this was I do like to gravitate towards these 2 or 3x leverage on things that trade off of something that I know is, you know, this is not based on sentiment. This is just based on actual, right? And if I go to,
if interest rates keep going up, it doesn't go up.
if interest rates go up, that goes down. It's an inverse. So I'm betting ultimately, you know, we're at 20 plus year high interest rates. If we look at the, this is usually right here. Yahoo just changed where they put everything. So rates. Right, if we look at the 10-year, it's at 4.6%. I mean, this is right. If we look at a 5-year, look how, you know, this peaked up here and it's back up. This is, forget a 5-year, right? It's been, you got to go back to 2000 and, you know, the financial crisis to get rates like this. So, you know, I think there's every chance. And again, not financial advice. I'm not even bringing this up to recommend it. I never recommend anything. Please do not buy or sell on anything I'm talking about. I'm just going to show, like, this is kind of how I do my portfolio. And it's not 100. I do own some stocks as well.
Did you know that Tesla recalled all their Cybertrucks?
I saw that. I saw that today.
That's insane. Did you hear what happened?
No, it was something about their brakes or something. I didn't even.
So
look
this
at
one guy was driving his. I watched a YouTube on it, and his accelerator got stuck. And what happened was there's a plastic thing that goes on the accelerator, and when you step on it, it like slips forward, and it like went under. There's a perfect seam. Luckily, he didn't panic and nothing happened. He was able to put his foot on the brake at the same time. But isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Having to recall all Cybertrucks is not a good day. So somebody else didn't have a good day, and that is Netflix. So you're going to see, you know, NVIDIA was down 10%. Netflix was down 9%. So the NASDAQ got beat up today. NASDAQ was down 2% today. The Dow was up. The Russell was positive. The S&P was down almost 1%. You know, that has some of the same drag with these stocks, but this was a rough day. This is a rarity. This was a rough day for the ultra large cap, the Magnificent Seven type stocks. We haven't had very many days where, you know, our stuff was up and that stuff was down. I think that that period of time is ahead of us. We're 3 years into a drought here for risk on investing, small cap, high growth investing. So, you know, you believe either one of two things. That sector's dead forever and there will never be a rotation back into it, or at some point are we going to rotate back into these risk on things. Now, one of the things that keeps people out of these is high interest rates, right? If they can get a 5% you know, CD, money market, treasury bill, then they, you know, that tends to keep people out. Crypto Fever said, people forget, on average, you need to make 12% a year just to break even on your cash. Reality is gold is an illusion of protection, but the math doesn't add up. Yeah, so over long periods of time, I mean, gold was trading at $2,000, you know, 10 or 15 years ago. So, you know, now it's finally broken out of that range, and it hasn't lost value. But like you're saying, you know, you got to increase your portfolio over time to just keep up. We're still on 6 blocks.
Oh no, it got stuck again.
15 minutes. We're 15 minutes into this current block.
15 minutes. It's broken.
16 minutes into the current block.
It's broken.
Let's take a look at Bitcoin. So we did have this one 15-minute candle with some downward pressure, and now we've leveled off again. And just to recap, for those of you joining us late, 247 likes, George. If you're new, if you haven't smashed the like button, do us a big favor. We appreciate it. We're going live. We're extending our live stream massively here to try to get to the Bitcoin halving. In addition to that, we're doing this entire stream ad-free, so we've demonetized ourselves. So I hope you guys are enjoying. Thanks for sharing this with us. And Aid, thanks for being a member. Apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Super chat, and he said, for your extended live. Thank you very much. That is much appreciated. This could be our longest live stream ever. And if they don't solve these blocks, there's no telling how long. See, it feels like we're right there. We're 6 blocks away, but, you know, any one block can derail you for a little while. You know, we still
I wish there was a way when telemarketers call you, because like my phone number I use for business, so I got to answer everybody. But I wish there was a way like you could take somebody's phone number that calls you at telemarketing, and you can put it on a website, and then they just call them.
I feel like, I know, right. I feel like they have trick numbers and millions of numbers.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Neutral.
Yes, thank you very much. So how many rate cuts will end this poll? The vast majority. So I'm going to combine 0 and 1 put together, 62%. So 27% think no rate cuts in 2024. 45% 1. 24% 3, and 4%. So I understand. That makes sense to me. Only 4% of people think 5 rate cuts. I still think that's on the table. I understand I'm in a very small minority of people. I think 3 is very realistic, but the majority here think we're at 0 or 1, and that kind of corresponds. The market thinks is fluctuating between either 1 or 2. So I didn't give the 2 as one of the options, so that's one good reason nobody picked it. So we'll end that poll.
Tom, we're all George.
You are George. I don't know about everybody else, George. But you definitely are.
I'm so glad you told me to take up a stage name. That was a smart idea.
Yeah, I would have said 2, but it wasn't an option. I should have put 2 since the market was debating between 1 and 2. So
that poll was broken. So is the next one gold to 10,000 or Bitcoin to 100,000? Which one first?
Oh, that is not even a poll.
Well, you think gold's that strong?
Gold to 10,000?
Okay.
Or gold to 10,000 or Bitcoin to 1 million. That's a fair poll.
That's a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's over.
That's a 5x for gold and 17x for Bitcoin. I bet you're going to find more people think Bitcoin will get to 1 million before gold gets to 10,000. And I'll show you why. Let's just take a look.
There's no. I would stay with Bitcoin. So. I mean, the real Bitcoin.
The real Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I don't even want to ask. So gold in 2011 got up to $1,900. I actually think it got over 2,000, but maybe it was 1,900. And it's at 2,400 right now. So in the last 13 years, from that peak to this peak, gold is up, what? $500. 20-something percent in 13 years. So you tell me, do you think gold's getting to 10,000 or Bitcoin's getting to 1 million first? I'm doing that poll.
He's committed, guys. Thanks, Jim. Jim, thank you so much. I went to the gym 4 times this week, Tom. I'm getting back.
Nice job.
I couldn't believe it.
All right.
Jimmy to Jim.
Yes, thank you, Jim. Which do you think will happen first? Gold to $10,000 or Bitcoin to $1 million? Gigantic moves, I understand, for both of those. And some of you may feel like neither one of those will ever happen. I suppose I could have made that an option, but...
Yeah.
It's possible neither of those will happen.
Wow.
You can't say never if,
I didn't think anybody would vote for gold.
If people think that the dollar is going to get wrecked, if people think things are going to go from bad to a lot worse...
Where are we right now? In that equation, where are we right now?
We're somewhere in the middle as I continue to close out the...
Bad to a lot worse, so we're already at bad?
What was the name of this website? I just closed it out again.
I don't know. I'd never been on this website. And if you brought in 14 euros, you still broke positive.
Like something guru, something.
Don't you have like a history thing? Oh, you probably don't want to show the history of your internet.
It doesn't show it. I thought it would have brought it up in my thing, but it doesn't. But I found it.
Still at 6.
Come on, people.
Dude, that's crazy.
It's been 23 minutes on this block. We could be here till midnight, George. You in for the long haul?
I'm just thinking of what to eat.
This says 33 minutes. Now, that's not even reasonable. I'm going to press refresh. That should fix that because 6 blocks in 33 minutes don't even make sense.
That's not going to happen.
They need to re-estimate their estimate. Barry said WW3 would probably send gold to 10K first. That's true.
Yeah, that's
a
true.
fact.
Do you think going to war, though? Well, look at what just happened with Bitcoin when Israel did what they did to Iran.
Unmolded Jeff says, I think he's talking about gold. If you bought 5 years ago, you'd be up 100%. So that's true. We went from peak to peak. If you go from trough to peak, it's pulled a double. But Bitcoin in the last 1 year has pulled a quadruple. But not everything in your portfolio is going to 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x in a 1 year period. So, I understand having a diverse portfolio with, some anchor stocks, if you will. But here's the thing, and this is why I have less and less and less of these in my portfolio. The old tried and true, what used to be called the blue chip stocks, the stocks that were slow but steady, even those are having massive volatility. Companies like Ford have quadrupled and then gone down 60, 70% in the last 3-4 years. GE, IBM. How about
Kodak?
For Kodak, yeah. Meta or Facebook, right? Facebook went down 70 or 80% and then it went up 400%. All right. That's not how, one of the top 15 biggest stocks in the stock market is supposed to act. So the volatility is everywhere. So if you're going to take the risk anyway. Robin, thank you Robin Sailors, who is a member. Thank you for being a member. Said Tom and George, thanks for putting on a great show. Thank you very much.
Tom, but couldn't you say the same thing about Apple's broken?
That's a very great point. Let's pull up Apple.
I mean, to me, Apple's the not broke like no money, but brokest like.
Well, they're definitely not broke.
Right. They don't follow a traditional stock. They should be issuing dividends. Apple
is at $165. So Apple brushed up against $200. Sometime let's go here. I don't know why I'm going there. We'll go here. So this is December 14th. That's 4 months ago. Right, so here's one. This is a perfect example. Thank you, George. This is supposed to be a blue chip, safe haven for your money.
Yep.
And from its high on December 14th until it's closed today, it's down 17% in 4 months. Now, I understand that's not, 50%, 70%, but that is a big, big move to the downside in 4 months. For a stock that people, that's one of 15 or 20 stocks that people tuck money away in. I don't know what to do with it. Rather than put it in cash, let me put it in an Apple and, earn a few dollars along the way. Well, it's going the wrong way.
But this wasn't even my point. My point is they hoard cash.
Oh, they have an astronomical amount of cash and cash equivalents on their balance sheet.
Hoard it.
They do. There's several of these companies. The tech companies hoard their cash.
Well, what was it? The top 10 companies are sitting over $1 trillion of cash?
Yeah. Yes. Cash and short-term.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insanity.
And if only 10% of them moved into Bitcoin?
Right. Those are one of many, many, many gigantic pools of money that has not even yet begun to move into Bitcoin.
5 to go.
So they have a dividend on their $165 stock. They have a 96-cent dividend, or a 0.57% yield.
That's crazy.
I mean, why bother?
Watch Cooper or Copper?
Is what I would say. Watch both.
And it's funny is Copper in Arizona. They found the largest deposit of copper. Did you know that?
No,
And they were
not.
all set to mine it, and for some reason something happened.
5 blocks. That one was a long one. We got stuck, but we're down. And then there was 5.
Oh, now it re-estimated itself at 46 minutes.
We're getting further away somehow.
Did you order pizza, Tom? Is that what you told the guys? Or, hey, give me some pizza.
No, I did not. That's a great idea, though. Apple has buybacks. That's what a lot of the tech stocks do. They do big buybacks. And I will tell you, so here's another stock I'm invested in. Again, I am not recommending this stock. In fact, every time I bring it up, I get a massive amount of negative feedback.
Oh, you're not going through the tried and true. Oh, PayPal? I hate PayPal.
I know you have a personal bad experience from a user standpoint, but from a stock standpoint, I feel like I feel very good about this stock. No, I don't think it's going to triple or quadruple, but I think this is I feel like there's a double in this. I'm already way up. Well, I say way up. I'm already up nicely on it. And
that's good.
52-week low was at $50. That is not my average, but my average is much lower than this, and I've built out my entire position. So there's no number at which I would add to this. But
Calvin, I'm going. Tom can't go, but I'll go. I'm going with my son.
You're going for dinner?
No, I'm going to the CleanSpark event May 30th. Or
Oh,
like
yes. Yes, good. Oh,
I was in charge of the entertainment after hours.
4 blocks. That one was 2 minutes.
Did you hear me, everyone? I was in charge for the entertainment after hours. That you want to be at. That's not free.
We had a 2-minute block, George. We're down to 4.
Nice. Now it's back to 36 minutes.
Right, because they just solved a block in 2 minutes.
Dude, that's crazy, isn't it?
This is how it works. So, and it's wild that the average...
Yeah, mine too. My only fraud attack was through PayPal, a PayPal transaction. I'm still dealing with it. They were able to change the email on my account. Even though I closed everything, they still changed it and reopened it. After we closed the account. After I had 2 FA installed.
I don't
PayPal
necessarily use their
is
product.
broken.
I like their...
Yeah. If you use their product, you wouldn't own their stock, Tom.
I do. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say I don't use their product. I don't use PayPal, but they do own Venmo.
Yeah, that's true.
Along with another 20 or 30 other companies, most of which
their
new CEO is going to sell and get out of and stop being involved in stuff that's not adding to their business model. They have a new, I'm calling him a new CEO. They have a relatively new CEO. I like what they're doing. I think they're going to have a nice, solid, consistent run. I don't think it's a to the moon situation, but like I said, every stock can't be straight to the moon. So to me, I know people hate that. I think it's one of my safer plays.
Calvin, you want to hear a funny one? When I went last time to CleanSpark, we had so much fun. We ended up just sitting there talking for 4 hours. I mean, literally, it was about... I had the... what was her name? She was great. What was her name? I don't remember her name. But she's from... I guess they have a location in Nevada. And I guess that's where their headquarters are, right? Nevada?
Is this CleanSpark?
Yeah, CleanSpark. Isn't that where their headquarters are?
They're somewhere out west, although all their facilities are in Georgia now, a few, I think, in Mississippi.
We had so much fun, though. That was, like, the best thing ever. I mean, they're, it was just... We kind of knew some of the same people. And it's just so funny that here's these, like, I won't go into it because I probably shouldn't, but some was from Utah, and we kind of knew some of the same people, which was interesting. Here I am all the way over on this coast, right? They're already all the way over on that coast, and we know some of the same people, and it was just a good time.
Somebody pointed out Bitcoin's having a nice little bounce back. We're back over 64,000. Sour Melon Gaming. Tom, give us an actual price target for Bitfarms you think is realistic that you would sell all your shares at. Come on, I know there's a number in your head. All my shares? I'm not, I just...
$20.
It's, yes, fine. Absolutely. At $20, I'll sell all my shares.
See, it is in Nevada. See? Yes.
I don't see Bitfarms getting to $20 in this cycle, but you know what?
You see them getting to 10?
I don't even know that that's not my price target.
You're not going to tell us? Psh, tell me and I'll tell them.
I somewhere around their I think their previous all-time high was $9.36. So
so you think
I mean, call it 10. I see them. That's my target for this time around. They could go beyond that, and I try to be conservative because I'm planning on Bitfarms is one I don't plan on selling 100% of my stock. I plan on keeping that around for the next cycle, but I do plan on taking a lot of, I will trim back all these positions if my plan works. If it doesn't and it never reaches any of my targets, and I'm wrong about what Bitcoin's going to do, and I'm wrong about what the performance of the Bitcoin miners, obviously it'll go the other way, but
yeah, that's the bottom line, crypto. At the end of the day, I want to see everybody make money. That's the deal. Lawrence, thank you, Tom and George, for your Tom's technical analysis. Mine's moon analysis. Crypto miner stocks, I was able to move. I was able to make up for when Robinhood and Webull force sold my crypto.
Oh yeah,
Was that what? When did that happen? What happened?
that was a while ago.
What was it? Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Well, some of these and like Robinhood did the same thing. There's some that they just no longer offered trading on.
Oh, really?
Robinhood did that to a bunch. Coinbase has done that to some. You know, if you're holding something, they'll let you liquidate your position, but
Right.
you can't buy anymore.
Which one you want to do first? This bull run, where do you see Riot going? Where do you see Cleanspark going?
Uh,
Bull run. Just say it with me now. Bull run. Bull run.
Sourmelon Gaming said Sebastian thinks Bitfarms will go to $20 to $30. So I listen. I hope he's 100% absolutely correct. That is beyond the top end. The bottom end of his price target is beyond the top end of my
So
price
what
target.
would the market cap
this.
be at $20 or $30, please?
So that's a more than a 10x from here, and they're going to issue a lot more shares. So you're talking about, you know, this could be $10-15 billion company by then.
I guess it's possible.
It is possible.
Highly unlikely.
Right, if we go to where they are right now, because they have big growth plans, so they're going to do a lot of stock dilution. Now they still should go up in price. So, like I said, I do think they'll press up against their previous all-time high, and you know, in my mind, I think they'll go past their previous all-time high. But in my plan on my exit strategy, I'm not going to plan on it.
Well, answer the question. What was the question? Yeah,
I think you were asking me about
I don't know who it is.
Riot
So
High.
I don't know who that company is. Lawrence, I don't know who that company is. Sorry.
Calvin Crypto's asking me to get onto Spaces.
Who's Mike Alford on Spaces when Tom isn't?
I mean, I guess I could talk to Mike. There's an awful lot of people. He's somebody on X or Twitter that has a lot of followers that talks about Bitcoin.
You see what it is? Here's the difference. Sebastian probably reaches out to them. They don't probably reach out to Sebastian. And then even if they reach out to Tom.
My feeling is this. I don't want to sound, this is going to come off the wrong way. If you want Mike Alfred's opinion.
Go watch him, right?
Right. I don't know. I don't mean that in a negative way. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of varying opinions.
I don't even think this person's real.
And no, they are real. That is a prominent person. They have a lot of followers on
not
Twitter.
Real.
And
I think they're an AI.
when the people in the same space that do the same thing, I just don't think there's any value in them talking to each other about it. Like if I talk about my thoughts and my opinions, and I do a monumental amount of work and research to come up with my own thoughts and opinions. Obviously, they're my own thoughts and opinions, and you know, take them with a grain of salt. And I encourage you guys to watch as many people as you have time for. Find the people that you think, you know, are knowledgeable and you have some level of trust in. Obviously, don't do what they do, but I listen to a lot of other people. But in the end, you know, most of my time, it's a massive amount of time. Like George said, I have another full-time job, but I still spend pretty much a full-time job on this as well. Some weeks more than a full-time job doing my own research. So I try to bring you guys and talk to you guys about all the stuff that I'm doing. But I understand, and this Spaces thing is new to me, so maybe I'm just resistant to change and I need to catch up with the times. I don't know. That is
what are spaces?
That's the thing on X where you can have conversations. So,
Oh, really?
you know, Mike Alfred is on X. So he would be on Spaces having a conversation.
Spaces. Live audio conversation.
Cleanspark 2100 said Mike is on the board of Iris. Oh, I can't say Iris Energy anymore. It's Iron.
Iran. No, it's Iran.
That's interesting that he's on the board. I would think he would have a conflict of interest talking about any of this being a board member of an SEC corporation. Huh. That's wild.
That is wild.
Crypto Fever said, or you're just content staying this way because you guys have told us you want to grow the channel. I mean, if you guys are giving us some suggestions on how to get out there and do other things. Yeah. So
I was actually going to say.
What?
No, I'm just reading what people are writing. What did he say? What? I got lost.
Aid, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said, I think this channel is currently a nice size, too many, and nobody gets a look in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll take whatever size we're at. If we had, you know, I remember when we had 1,000 viewers, and if, you know, if we have 100,000, we're still going to do the same content.
We're not changing. That's apparent, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, at this point, I think you know who we are.
Yeah.
Midway said he can't say much specific stuff about Iron, but he can comment generally about industry stuff. So I guess that makes sense. He probably just needs to be careful in specific about Iron, and otherwise everybody's free to have their own opinion on everything else. Thank you, Midway.
I'm going to ask to get on the board at CleanSpark.
Larry said CleanSpark at least 50, Riot 50, Mara 80. So I think all those are very realistic price targets in my opinion.
3 to go, Tom.
And then there were 3.
So this could be 30 minutes. It could be 4 hours.
That was a 13-minute block. So let's see if we get another quick one. There's no rhyme or reason. It's not like you can predict. Robin Sailor says, Hut's going to 100. Not. Hut needs to tell us what they're going to do. That's my feeling on Hut. Oh, boom. Guess what? We did just get a less than 1 minute block.
Ooh, 2 to go. Thank goodness.
Wow. Crypto Future said, Tom, remember last year when you guys met with us and said you may switch from Bitcoin miner content because channel views likes was slow? Yes, that is true. And in the middle of the crypto winter, that things slowed down to a crawl where we really did want to expand. Now, I will say we had a nice big boost and it has slowed down a little bit again. So I do think, you know, I will take this. If I'm being resistant, maybe I'm just old, but I appreciate everybody's suggestions on some other stuff to do. And, you know, what we've really talked about is talking more about other cryptocurrencies, because I do think we're coming around to alt season. I look at a lot of the small cap, high growth stuff. I'm hesitant to get into that because I think we're still early on most of it and there's very little interest out there, but I'll take all recommendations and I will try to receive them more positively. How about that?
Tom, I'm going to sneak off and then sneak back on.
You got 2. All right.
Okay.
2 blocks. Chris Dominator is still here. 2. Yes, we got 2 to go. Mind-boggling. Will we know who mines the first block after the halving? Yes, we will. I think I have this still up. Let me see. So this is block for block for block. Oh, this is not in real time, though. This is behind. I just refreshed, and this is way behind. This is at block 968. We're at block 998. So at BTC.com, I guess an hour from now we'll know, not in real time. Somewhere probably in real time, they will tell us this. This is where I usually look. I didn't realize this is on a bit of a delay. It's never really mattered that much in the past. But right now, as we count down to the last block for the halving, we need to be in real time. And we have 2 blocks to go. We just had a 1-minute block. Donnell Brown said this has to be a little crypto winter the last 4 months. That's why I think there's going to be... altcoin season is out there, right? The Bitcoin dominance is growing, and I think that will continue, but there's going to be a clear time where there's a shift, and I think being early on some of these altcoins is going to be a good thing. So I think, to me, that's some content that we can do. And, you know, it's still in the same neighborhood that we're currently in. Crypto Fever, look, we're giving suggestions because we're watching other channels blast ahead of you guys. I personally don't want to see your channel get left behind. Well, thank you, Crypto Fever. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, if other people are doing things and we're just not keeping up with the times, I guess we got to keep up with the times.
What happened?
And this Spaces thing, you got, I feel like I just got to go through some learning curves. I'm so resistant to it, but I just need to do it. You know, I'm sure it's a one-time thing. I'll figure it out, and then I'll be able to do it. And then just that roadblock of going through the learning curve has kept me out of there, but we'll dedicate ourselves to, it's me. George is very good at jumping onto new things. I'm very resistant. So
I don't even know what you're talking. I didn't even know it existed, Tom.
No, I know. I'm not saying that in specific. I'm just saying in general, with technology, you're not afraid to go learn the next thing. And I'm a little more resistant, and I shouldn't be. It's a very bad habit, right? You got to keep up, or once you fall behind, you can't let that happen. So thank you, Crypto Fever. I appreciate the sentiment, and I will try to keep up.
What? My dogs are looking at me because they want food. You want some food? Me too.
Kelvin, I know McNally he does a lot of other things. You know, they do the Bitcoin stuff, but he definitely is all over the place in small cap, high growth stuff. And I used to do, if you look at my channel 2.5 or 3 years ago, I was doing a lot more of that, but I you know, the handwriting was more than on the wall. All those stocks were about to get absolutely wrecked. And one at a time, you know, I was saying, you know, I've changed my conviction in this. I'm out of this. I'm out of that. I'm out of this. And you know, I caught a portion of the rundown, and most of those went down 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% after I stopped doing stuff on them. And we're all this time later, and, you know, we're still in this risk-off environment. I also don't want to get involved in, I know there are people out there that do pay to get viewers and subscribers, and so sometimes their channels may look like they're doing more. We don't do any of that here. It's just I find no value in that at all. So we're organic as you can be. And I'm not pointing to anybody in specific. I just know it's prevalent on YouTube. And you can see, if you know how this works, if you look for 2 minutes, you can tell whose numbers are organic and whose aren't. Mark said, do your thing, Tom. You have Twitter. I do have Twitter. I'm on Twitter. And Kelvin's saying literally it's on Twitter. So you're right. I have Twitter. I just need to look at Spaces. I hear spaces and, oh, we're at 1 block. We're now 1 block away. I just got to get through the roadblock. I hear that and I'm like, whoa, that's something I don't know anything about. I don't know how to do that. And then like I run into a roadblock. So I got to get over it. I don't want to belabor it, but I understand. I got to just push through the pain. Calvin said, press a button to join a public call. So sounds like it's not that much pain I need to push through. It's maybe a lot simpler than I realize. And Crypto Fever saying all the miner CEOs have participated. All right. It's official. I'm doing a spaces, if that's how you say it. We're in. George, I'm in. Are you in the spaces with me?
I'll do it. Whatever. I don't care.
Mr. J.
Don't say anything. Maybe you'll see my wife again.
Shh. Did you smell it?
What, the car?
No.
Mr. J said,
What?
do you, Tom. We appreciate all you do. Thank
Chicken
you,
farm?
Mr. J. I appreciate
Cigarette
that.
smoke? Hot?
Hot.
Go figure.
Fucking sitting on their front porch
Oh,
smoking pot.
Yeah, they can't afford to have the...
Let's see. Somebody's saying Spaces is
I won't
organic.
even go there.
I didn't know you were on. You're such a jerk.
People like the raw.
Riot was on the New York
Uncut
Stock
version.
Exchange today and rang the bell. That was from Chris Dominator. I did not
Oh.
know that. And we have 1 block to go, George. We've mined 839,999 blocks of Bitcoin. 1 more.
That's insane.
And we are at the halving. For all this time, we said, it looks like we're going to miss our stream by 6 or 8 hours. We're not going to be able to do it. But you know what? We went long.
Tom, how long till the smaller miners start to go out of business and they're no longer a good investment?
How long before they're no longer a good investment? In my opinion, 6 months ago.
Okay.
I've said the ones I'm worried about. And you know, if you have 2 exahash or less, for the most part, I just don't understand what your business model is going forward. Now, there are some, you know, if they have significant other streams of income, but I'm very skeptical. A lot of these companies that are mentioning high performance computing, AI, the amount of streams of income they're getting, gross profit they're generating, I don't think is going to bridge the gap on what they need to do to move forward. Yes, some of them might even be able to keep the lights on, but that's not really investment grade. So, you know, I don't know which ones are going to be able to keep the lights on and go forward versus the ones that won't even be able to do that. But I do think we just mined, we have gone through, this is the halving. Ladies and gentlemen, at 8:09 p.m., we just had the Bitcoin halving. I used to have buttons that I could do stuff, but I don't know how to do them. So congratulations, everybody. That is the Bitcoin halving.
We did it, Tom.
We did it. Breaking news. So this jumped on the screen. Breaking news, Bitcoin halving officially complete. Bam. So that's it.
I don't feel any different.
100%.
Did you hear me?
You don't
I
feel
don't feel any different.
Let's see. Did
No.
Bitcoin
I
go
wanna
to the
know who
moon?
mine's the first
Is
one.
Bitcoin at $1 million?
Huh? No.
I know. Is it? So that is the halving. Well, we said it's its own thing. Mark said,
Right.
It's 420 in my heart. Yeah, you know what? It was tracking for 420 for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it just got there a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah. Just missed it by a few hours. Any closing thoughts, Tom?
Lawrence said, peer pressure, spaces on the way.
Yes.
Kelvin said,
Well,
over
we were
200
looking-
people
we've been
valued
looking
your
for
live
another
stream.
spot.
Huh?
Remember we talked about this. We've been looking for another spot to go to.
We have been, and we were talking about some other platforms that we just didn't feel like were going to do the trick. So maybe Spaces is the thing, and maybe it's a supplement to this and not a replacement. It seems like that's the case.
Yeah.
Cleanspark to 100 said those old ASICs are coming offline ASAP. So that is what's really going to be interesting. How much we're going to see over the coming days and maybe even weeks. It's not like necessarily everybody's going to turn them off 5 minutes from now, but let's see over the next days and weeks. Does the global hash rate pull back a little bit? That would be a big win for the publicly traded Bitcoin miners. So, right, because they're not lowering their exahash. So if the global hash rate goes down, then their percentage goes up. Haha, Alexander pulled a Ferris Bueller. You still here? It's over. Go home. Well done, Alexander. Thanks for being a member. Well played. Well, we should wrap it up.
I'm going to get a Whataburger.
Anybody, George, any parting thoughts yourself? We just did the Bitcoin halving. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for staying on the stream with us, sticking with it through the halving.
Yeah,
by the way,
fun.
the final poll, 73%, 72% think Bitcoin will get to $1 million before gold gets to $10,000.
Yeah.
That was our final poll. We are now in a new era of Bitcoin. We'll see what happens on Monday to the Bitcoin miners. Sourmelon Gaming said Hut needs to shut down now. So some of these companies like Hut, you know, I'll tell you, Hive, this will be my parting thoughts. Hive and Bitfarms already put a plan in place, and they've bought machines to swap out a significant number, a majority of their existing machines. So the companies that didn't do that, that aren't growing and aren't swapping out their machines, those are the ones that I'm worried about. So that's my parting thoughts. Thank you, everybody. George, any last words? Or should I say parting thoughts?
No, have a great evening, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, yes, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Congratulations on the Bitcoin halving. Go Bitcoin miners. And we will see you next week.
So we would